welcome to the biggest fight of the year between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis.
I don't know if I've ever experienced a crowd like this for a public weigh-in. This is special. This doesn't happen often.
I've seen a very confident Ryan Garcia throughout the build of this fight, and I feel like mentally and physically we're getting the best possible version we can.
One punch can happen, and Ryan has that factor, but Tank baits you in, he forces you to engage, and it always ends up in a knockout.
The big talking point coming into this weigh-in was, what is Ryan Garcia going to look like at 136 pounds?
A battle of undefeated stars of the sport.
When you see a young rivalry with young guys that want to fight each other, they're both at the top of their game, this is giving the fans what they want to see in boxing.
They want the damn smoke, and they want it now. This is the right fight at the right time in the right setting with the two right fighters. This is like a summit of everything we love about this game.
This is the biggest fight of the year, biggest fight of this generation.
The last time I felt something like this in Las Vegas was Mayweather-McGregor.
All the fans are here, and the energy lets you know that it's a big one.
Who could miss this?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world, and tonight it is home to the biggest fight of the year between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis. Welcome to the T-Mobile Arena, where it's all going to go down tonight. I'm Kate Abdo. We're here with you throughout the evening with Brian Campbell, host of Morning Combat, Ariel Helwani, host of the MMA Hour, Showtime Basketball. Fantastic to be with you both. It is fight night. We are looking fancy. Brian has spit cleaned his shoes.
Well, that was because I had to wipe the drinks I spilled.
The Gatorade,
off.
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Listen, we're all really excited for this, and I think first and foremost simply because it's not too late for this fight to happen, right? It hasn't over-marinated. It didn't take us 6 or 7 years to get here. We get to get this fight now when both of these young fighters are in their prime and undefeated. That's special, right, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, Davis Garcia, not always there when you call, Kate, but they're always on time, and this was the right time, the right fighters, two separate fan bases coming together, the youth, the unbeaten records, the stakes. Ariel, you don't need a title for a fight this big. You just need personalities and maybe the idea that the winner could be the face of the sport.
Absolutely, but if I'm being honest, I'm more excited about the two undercard fights that we're about to call here. If, you know, I'm trying to be a company man. I think those fights are going to be better than the main event, but once those fights are done, I'm going to tell you that the main event is going to be fantastic. You got to watch Showtime pay-per-view beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern, earlier than usual start time, and it's warranted because it's a great undercard leading up to the pay-per-view main event, and I can't believe that we're actually here. Like, I can't believe this actually happened, right? Because there were 800 obstacles in the way of making this a thing. I can't believe the thing is actually here.
Yeah, so as Ariel and I compete for a regular job on Showtime Boxing,
Yes.
He may just have outdone me already in the first 5 minutes, but okay.
Up your game, Kate. Up your game. Hi, Steven. How are you?
I think yesterday, just being at the weigh-in, frankly, was super exciting, right? To see that kind of turnout. Whose house are you expecting this to be tonight?
Honestly, I think it's a Ryan Garcia house.
I thought it was 50-50.
No, my man Steven Jackson.
Wait, we weren't talking about Helwani house.
No,
That's
no,
Ryan
no,
Garcia all the way.
Well, I'm unbiased. Stop trying to perpetuate this myth that I'm
trying to get Kate hired. Okay, yeah, come on.
My man Steven Jackson, of course, we're basketball, colleagues. He said that I think he said 60-40 for Tank. I totally disagree. I thought yesterday was like 70-30 for Ryan. I was really impressed with the turnout. What do you think?
I thought it was impressive how many people couldn't even see the stage. They were piling back like this was Simon and Garfunkel at Central Park or something. I thought it was pretty slit down the middle 50-50, but the passion you could feel. Real fight fans here for this one.
I have a question about that whole melee that we saw at the weigh-in. Did B-Hop start that whole mess? Are we
no.
that firmly at his door?
The executioner, no way. He's the man.
The king of mental games? He would never do
I think he prodded first.
Listen, if this is going to start a melee, you just jumped. I touched
you. This was not consensual. I'm not ready for this. All right.
If this is going to start a melee, then we all need to chill out. They were both, doing their thing, jockeying for position. It was fine. I actually don't really like the disrespect shown towards Bernard Hopkins. That's a legend. I'll tell you what would have avoided all of that. Iron Mike was standing right over there. You put him in the middle. No one's acting a fool. I don't know why they didn't put him right in that prime spot in the middle because, I mean, is anyone going to act crazy with Iron Mike standing there? No. I did love it, though. It was great. Clip went viral. Everyone's talking about it afterwards. That's essentially what you need, just no punches thrown. Hey, there's fights happening.
Well, the action beginning in the first of our two preliminary bouts here on the Showtime pay-per-view countdown show. Brian Campbell and Ariel Helwani once again with you on the call. And Ariel, we are kicking off with one of the brightest prospects in the game just 20 years old, Vito Mielnicki Jr. You see him in the blue and green trunks, and we're seeing him here right now in a 10-round super welterweight bout against Jose Sanchez Charles.
The pride of Roseland, New Jersey. Very excited to see him fight live for the first time in person. I know Showtime very high on him. Al Heyman very high on him. Got a very, very powerful hand. And, you know, you see the one over there, just 20 years old, suffered defeat, but has been able to come back and look very promising. So this is good stuff.
The defeat in questions, he called it maybe the best thing to happen to his young career in 2021 when Mielnicki lost a majority decision over 8 rounds to James Martin. It was a big upset. But one thing Mielnicki says about that, Ariel, is he talked to another former champion, Lamont Peterson, in the aftermath in camp together, and he learned a lot about the idea of preparation and not taking fights lightly. And I've talked to Vito in the past. He said, I started reading my own headlines. And then, you know, when you turn pro at 18, when you're headlining on national television on Christmas night, when you're 19, you can understand the idea of maybe getting a little bit too ahead of yourself, but you love the early wisdom shown by the young fighter.
Want to know how young Vito is? He was a high school senior when COVID hit.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
He turned pro while still in the 12th grade.
I believe he's the youngest, or at least at the time, was the youngest pro fighter to be sanctioned in the state of New Jersey. He was 17 when he first got his license. And so, obviously, he's been under a microscope for a very long time. Nice little guillotine there. Yeah,
that's illegal in the boxing grounds. Referee Robert Hoyle all over it. Good jabs early from Vito, but a leaping left hand from Charles finds the mark.
Shout out to the late, great leaping Lanny Poffo.
Absolutely. The brother of the equally late and great, or maybe even more when you're talking about history, the Macho Man Randy Savage.
It was just Macho Man, not the Macho Man.
Well, it depends on what territory at the time, to be fair with you. If you really want to go back deep, I can go to Memphis with you. But first round action here in the 154-pound division. Mielnicki Jr., blue trunks, the green waist.
Can we do? Are we doing open scoring for these undercard fights?
Dude, I mean, we can provide our own scoring. I don't believe.
I was told that there's going to be open scoring.
All right. Well, we'll hear Ariel Helwani's scorecard throughout this matchup. Just less than 10 seconds to go in round 1. Stiff jab from Mielnicki as he controls distance against the veteran Jose Charles. 1 round in the book here in our first of 2 preliminary fight offerings on the Showtime pay-per-view countdown show. We will be taking you up, of course, to the start of tonight's pay-per-view, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. And you can order right now on Showtime pay-per-view for all things Tank Davis and King Ryan Garcia. Ariel, we were talking briefly with Kate off the start about that weigh-in, that energy, that crowd. You hear some people say this week, I haven't felt this since Floyd. And it was something extra special was there this week, I'd have to say.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to look at you or not because we're actually sitting right next to each other, but yet we're in separate boxes. You're talking about Kate like she's not here. She's literally a centimeter away from you, so it's all very...
There it is.
You know what I'm talking about? We're breaking the 4th wall here, guys. But yes, I mean, capacity crowd on hand for the prelims. You know it's a big fight when, right?
Well, plenty of seats available at the moment, but we know boxing
Friends
to be...
family only.
to be late arrivals here in Las Vegas as we continue to count it down closer to the start of the 4-fight pay-per-view main card. But here's round 2 in the 154-pound division.
Can I tell you a great story about that?
I'd love to hear it.
Last time I think Showtime did a pay-per-view broadcast in this building was Mayweather-McGregor.
Interesting stat.
And you know who was the co-main?
Gervonta Tank Davis.
And I remember sitting up in the rafters because, of course, I had the worst seat. There was no one in attendance for his fight.
Did you keep a receipt for that?
Oh, absolutely. Kelly Swanson, we still need to speak. Thing is, no one was even in attendance for his fight. They all showed up for the main event. How times have changed 6 years later.
Exactly. Right hand from Jose Charles slipped in against Mielnicki. As we continue here in round 2, we mentioned Mielnicki, the pride of Roseland, New Jersey, born in Belleville, but he went to high school over in North Caldwell at West Essex High School. And Ariel, if I'm going to read a notable alumni list from that high school,
please.
We're talking about Sopranos creator David Chase, comedian Joe Piscopo, former U.S. soccer coach Bob Bradley, and Showtime and Malka cameraman Jake Roseman. So, you know, we are talking about
Von Amsterdam?
Von Amsterdam
You're
himself, the Morning Combat documentarian.
Wow.
For those who follow
I had no
the
idea.
show. So, notable alumni. Ariel, who's the most famous person to come from your high school?
Would it be would it be a little egotistical if I said myself?
Well, I want facts.
Okay, I just, I mean, private Jewish school in Montreal, it wasn't exactly who's who coming out of there.
Have they built a statue?
Not yet. I'm a little bit offended by it, if I'm being honest.
Another right hand finding the mark for the veteran, Jose Sanchez Charles, 29 years old, Reynosa, Mexico. He brings in a 24-fight veteran, calling himself El Matador.
Vito's been around some studs throughout his young career. Shakur Stevenson's grandfather trained him, has trained with the likes of Gervonta Davis in Maryland. You mentioned Lamont Peterson.
Sure.
A lot of people are trying to help this young man out, and you know, he's trying to show them that their time is being used well in their you know, experience with him.
Even though he turned pro, as you mentioned, at 17, had a good amateur career, a 147-22 record. And Mielnicki was the most outstanding boxer at the 2011 Junior National Golden Gloves. But Jose Charles doing his best to stay in this fight in round 2, getting the best of the power shots so far, as Mielnicki lands a counter jab to get out of trouble. Back to the right hand of the body is Mielnicki, but Charles counters over the top.
Oh, my dear.
If you're wondering, Ariel, if the coffee I just spilled on myself is the first time this weekend that's happened.
What happened?
You may not know me well enough.
Was the cap loose or what?
The cap has been broken the whole time. 10 seconds to go here in round 2.
What a pro. Just forge on, Brian. It's going to be okay.
Well, if spilling drinks on yourself is cool, you can call me Miles Davis from the beginning there. 2 rounds in the book in our first offering here on Showtime Pay-Per-View Countdown. Brian Campbell alongside Ariel Helwani. Kate Abdo, of course, is right next to us. But, Ariel, let's look back at the action here in round 2 as you touch my coffee stain. I don't think the viewers can see it here.
I think they can see it just fine. I mean, it's right there.
Good punches exchanged there in the second round as we look at the corner of Team Mielnicki. Of course, his trainer, Chino Rivas. This is the 5th fight in their relationship together.
There's a great feature on him on the Showtime Sports YouTube channel where they spent a full day or so with him and his family in New Jersey. Got great insight into him. His dad is a great character as well. Highly recommend you check it out. In fact, the aforementioned Van Amsterdam, I think, shot that little beauty.
Jake Van Amsterdam, New Jersey's finest, one of the best cameramen in the business today. Hopefully he can work on getting this coffee stain out of my lapel. Round 3 here, 154 pounds, the bright prospect, Vito Mielnicki Jr. You see the 1 defeat on his ledger. That came in 2021, but 6 straight victories since that loss as he continues to attempt to make that climb from prospect to contender.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think he is worthy of all the hype, the buzz? All that
I think
stuff.
he's still proving that.
Okay.
I'll say the one thing about Vito Mielnicki that really gives me some confidence is got a very level head on his shoulders. We talked about how he responded to that first defeat. He shows maturity that's beyond his age. He's a solid workman-like boxer in there. He can be flashy at times, but I think the more he focuses on the little aspects, the fundamentals, and continues to raise his game, I think he's got a chance to be a very good fighter. But when you come in with look, when you're a teenager, and you're headlining on national television on Christmas, it does seem to change the expectation level, if you will.
I think he started training when he was around 7 years old and would wake up at 4:30 before school, train for a few hours with his dad, go to school, and then train again for another 2-3 hours. And his mom used to feel bad that he wasn't going to parties, that he wasn't playing sports with his friends, but all he wanted to do was be a pro fighter. And imagine him now at T-Mobile, undercard of, arguably the fight of the year. Pretty incredible.
It does sound like your story at Syracuse. Just putting.
I was gonna say, but I didn't want to make. It's not about me. Okay, let's be honest.
Yeah, you had a wildly large haircut back then.
I did. An afro.
If we can get photos of that up on this broadcast.
Oh, it's a tremendous, and I kind of had the half fight the power, fist thing going on. I was very confused at that age. Yeah.
More than halfway through round 3 here, Mielnicki controlling with the jab. But Ariel, let's give credit to Jose Sanchez Charles.
Yes.
Right hand over the top connects. He's looking to get inside Mielnicki's jab, and he's been very aggressive in the early going.
Aggressive, like someone waiting in line at P.F. Chang's for a few hours waiting for his
We'll edit that out after the fact. Oh, we're live. All right, here we go.
I was trying to do it. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry.
Right hand from Mielnicki and a left hook as he finished off a 4-punch combination. You can see a little bit of redness, bruising on the cheek of Mielnicki from these right crosses of Charles. Charles also bleeding a bit from the nose as Both fighters continue to sit down on their power shots in the center of the ring.
You know, it's really interesting. I was kind of joking about the crowd, but his family is sitting right over there, so you can see their reactions very clearly to everything. And a little bit of concern for a minute there for their young Vito.
Well, Charles is a veteran. That's why he's in here at this point against Mielnicki. And, you know, Vito Jr. told, oh, down goes Charles. And it looks like referee Robert Hoyle is going to rule that a knockdown.
Do you agree?
Have to check on the replay at this moment, but Charles looks to have his legs under him. 10 seconds to go here in round 3.
Oh.
Big left hook from Mielnicki. And Charles is down a second time. Hoyle delivering the count. 2 knockdowns in the final 20 seconds here for Vito Mielnicki Jr. We'll check the replay if we can get it on that first knockdown.
I actually feel like after seeing the second that the first was legit, right? The second came as a result of the first.
Let's look back on this. A 10-7 round, most likely for Mielnicki. A little right hand to the side.
Legit.
Almost the back of the head, right borderline, but enough to produce a very legitimate knockdown. And there's the second one. Right hand caught him. Delayed reaction. And
Impressive.
Down goes Jose Sanchez Charles. Let's see how he rebounds here in round 4.
Well, super impressive because we were just saying that, you know, Charles was bringing the fight to him. And then literally seconds later, here's Vito Jr. bringing the heat. 2 knockdowns in the final seconds of the round.
Well, what I was trying to say, just as Mielnicki scored that first knockdown, is he considers Charles to be the toughest opponent of his pro career up to this point. But a big surge to close round 3 has Mielnicki in control here. As we head to the start of round 4, this is a 10-round bout in the 154-pound division. A very stiff jab from Vito Jr. to kick off.
Oh.
See Charles motioning to the referee. Punch was borderline there on that looping right hand to the side of the head. Charles may want to focus on blocking that punch before complaining at this point.
No, Vito looks great.
Oh, big right hand from Mielnicki. Down goes Charles. And it looks like that'll do it. Hoyle not administering a count. It's a 4th-round knockout. No count necessary. Vito Mielnicki Jr., just 20 years old, but Ariel, Roseland, New Jersey, stand up, right?
I was just asking you earlier, is he worthy of the praise? Is he worthy of the buzz? I think he is worthy of the praise and buzz. Biggest stage of his young career so far, toughest opponent of his young career so far, and look what he just did to him.
Charles landed some big right hands in the first 2 rounds to get Mielnicki's attention. But the young fighter put his power punches together. Of course, 2 knockdowns to close round 3. And here in round 4, it looked just as Charles was squaring up to throw a big right hand. It looked in real time as if Mielnicki countered him before the first punch even got there. But we'll take a second look at it shortly. Either way, though, Mielnicki improving to 15-1 with the 10th stoppage of his young career.
Nice to see them embrace here. I'm very impressed. Again, this young man was in high school 3 years ago. And to do this at T-Mobile, respect. That was amazing.
Let's look back at the finish here in round 4, Ariel. Right hands came about the same time, but Mielnicki's got there first. Look a little bit like Aldo McGregor on the MMA side on that one?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
No, I don't think. But, you know, nice try. And he knew it was over, right? A walk-off.
Referee Robert Hoyle, longtime judge here in Nevada. No need to count on this one. The 3rd knockdown did the job, and let's hear from Miguel Flores.
White Magic, Vito Mielnicki Jr.
20 years old. Vito knows how to finish the job in front of him. A very impressive victory. And Ariel, that's his 2nd of this calendar year. Mielnicki was on the undercard of Gervonta Tank Davis's January pay-per-view victory over unbeaten Hector Luis Garcia. This is now 2 wins in this calendar year. And he told me in January, maybe 2 more years, he's looking at a world title. He doesn't want to rush it.
Yeah, he also said that he would like to fight 3 or 4 more times this year.
Sure.
So, I mean, quick work like that would help. Could you recite the name of the belt that he just won? It was one of the longest names that I've ever heard for a belt.
It looks like a regional belt, but it's part of the process and the journey up to this point.
You were really paying attention.
I believe there was alphabet letters attached to that. But Brian Campbell, Ariel Helwani, and let's welcome back in Kate Abdo. And,
Still here.
Wow. Kate, for an early offering, pretty exciting stuff over there.
It was great. I mean, I think you said process and journey, right? And those are two of those things that you're kind of looking at with a fighter of this kind of age and at this stage of his career. You're always looking to see what's the growth, right? Where is he growing? What would you pinpoint from that fight as where you see him developing and showing you new things?
Well, look, Charles had some success with some right hands early, and I like the way Mielnicki didn't panic. He adjusted to that, and when he looked to time that overhand right, he had the hand speed. He knew he had an aggressive opponent coming after him, and you saw that finish in the 4th round. The timing, the knowledge, the IQ, you're seeing it start to come together for the young teenage fighter. I mean, Kate, by age 20, you may be been polishing off your 3rd or 4th language at that point. I'm
Yeah,
not
maybe.
not really sure. But
What's the list? 9? What was it again?
No, you keep overselling me.
I'm trying to oversell you.
Now
to
I
the
sound like
bosses.
a disappointment.
well, at age 20, Ariel, I was in a basement on a couch, not winning fights on a pay-per-view undercard. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you were ordering the pay-per-views.
Absolutely.
He's competing on these cards.
Yeah, you ordering them exactly.
The fights, yes. I was impressed that there was a little adversity there, and then he was just like, "Yeah, we're gonna end this."
Sure.
A couple knockdowns, and then he finishes him in the next round, stops him, and then knew it was done. He could tell it was done. He didn't even look back. A walk-off knockout for him. Very impressive young man. And again, I watched that that feature done on him. 20 years old to have that kind of dedication. And be that rigid with his training, not talk about, partying, friends, missing out on things. That's a name to remember right there, in my opinion.
And here you go. You get to fight on the biggest fight card of the year, right? Up to date. Ryan Garcia against Gervonta Tank Davis. We're going to bring you that here. We're going to give you all the coverage of the prelims. That was the first of our 2 prelim fights. You can stay with us for the second one that's coming up shortly. We'll also give you all the build-up to the main event today, Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. But we've got a stacked card for you, 3 other cards on that main pay-per-view card. You can, of course, buy on Showtime pay-per-view. Let's talk about the main event, because obviously we're all super excited to be here for this one. It feels like such a big event. It's being fought at 136. There is no belt on the line, which is almost feels strange, right? When it's such a big fight, but there is no belt on the line. This one is only for legacy. And I think what's so exciting as well is that you know that whoever comes out on top in this fight is going to be crowned essentially the new face of boxing.
Do you guys agree with that?
I do. I mean, I
think so.
I asked Tank Davis about that at the press conference in New York to kick off this whole event, and he said, "Look, I think I'm already the face of boxing." Obviously, Tank Davis has
Worldwide?
Does he have the resume?
I mean, look, globally, it's Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. The heavyweight division brings a lot of attention, and we've seen a lot of welterweight stars headline, pay-per-views, the Spences, the Crawfords, all that. But Gervonta Tank Davis has been different, selling out arenas all over the country, starting to package pay-per-views back-to-back and building up his stardom. But I do think the idea, and Oscar De La Hoya said this to me this week, is, look, it is the Canelo era, but who's next? Who is officially next as we move forward? There's no shortage of young breakout potential superstars in and around this 135 and 140-pound division. So even though Devin Haney, the undisputed lightweight champion, can claim some level of, superiority in this division, in terms of the attention of the boxing world and those beyond it, and obviously this fight is the rare one that reaches apart from that, I think it's fair to say, star power-wise, branding, the face could be walking out of here.
I agree, yeah, because I think you're the face of boxing also to the outside world, right? Let's say that we had the 2 other biggest fights in boxing made right now. Let's say we had Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, and we had Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. They wouldn't have the crossover appeal that this fight has, and that's what elevates you to the face of the sport.
Well, what I was wondering was, and correct me if you guys feel otherwise, who is the bigger star outside of the United States, Ryan Garcia or Tank Davis? I think it's hands down Ryan Garcia. Outside of the U.S., and I think it's debatable within the U.S., I think whoever wins this fight takes that mantle. But, don't sleep on Ryan's popularity outside. And I was listening to some show today, and they were talking. They called Ryan Garcia a YouTuber, a YouTube boxer. Like, why do we keep using his following as a knock? Like, no one says, "Hey, LeBron, you have 30 million followers. You're just like." Why is that? What does Ryan do that makes people feel like he is not, dedicated, that he's not taking this seriously, that he's not looking for the big fights? the disrespect needs to end, and
Well,
perhaps today it ends.
Let's look at history. Look at who is Ryan's promoter. Oscar De La Hoya, obviously a Hall of Fame fighter, one of the greatest fighters of this area, Olympic gold medalist, successful promoter. But let's not forget the 1990s when Oscar was looked at as just another pretty face. Can this pretty boy back it up in the ring and fight? That's why Oscar ultimately needed fights like his split decision over Ike Corte in 1997, the breakthrough wins over Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., to win over pockets of his own fan base that want their fighters to be rugged and all this. I think if you're Oscar, if you're Canelo, if you've got the matinee idol look and the big popularity, it's always going to be prove it in the ring. But to specifically answer your question, look, people go on Instagram, they see 9.5 million followers, they see Ryan with his shirt off, he's singing, he's dancing, he's regaling the public. Maybe there's a little bit of jealousy built into that.
We all want
to be the cool guy in the high school lunchroom, okay? Not all.
Yeah, but
of
do
us
we
can
have
be
to
that.
hate on him?
No, but everyone does, right? I feel like everyone does. And I think this, honestly, I think this fight doesn't happen if he doesn't go after it. Tank was doing fine, and Tank is going after big fights, and he's having big fights, and he's selling out arenas. But I think initially, like the embryonic stages of this fight came from Ryan's end, and if he didn't push for it, it could have fizzled out. I really do think so. Agree or disagree?
I think Ryan had to agree to more in the negotiation, which we found out with the rehydration clause, which has been a big topic this week. But I think also it's not easy to make pay-per-views like this in the sport with people from opposite sides of the street. Ryan, at every step, told his promoter, his network, anybody that would listen, his manager, his lawyer, I want Tank next. It has to be Tank next. Tank Davis gets the same level of credit for signing on the dotted line and welcoming the danger, but I do believe Ryan had to reach a little bit more to be able to get this fight. And because he did, that's why we're seeing it. You can argue all you want about that 10-pound weight clause or the 136-pound catch weight, but they both made weight again today.
Yes,
and
at
the
11
fight is on, and ultimately that's what matters.
Yeah, he came in a little under 146, so all was good there. Worth noting because that was, what time is it now? That was just 4.5 hours ago that he had to do that. Not really common these days.
You got to be with him on stage yesterday at the weigh-in. Obviously, we were there as well, but we're kind of a distance away. I'm interested how you felt he looked at the weight yesterday.
Yeah, he was a little skinny.
Because did you see Errol Spence's post? He put up a picture of Ryan that he had taken from the internet and said he looked like he'd been sat in a bath all day. Did you feel like he looked
It's possible.
Like
I mean, he was sitting down. He didn't stand up, and, you know, that's a little uncommon. He was in the back. I think he had enough of being out there in the sun and all that stuff. There you see him. And I don't think he was gaunt. Would you say he was gaunt?
No,
I don't think
he looked much better than I expected.
Yeah.
But we can't overlook this was a hard weight cut. I mean, it just was at the end of the day.
And he had to be smart about it, right? Because he knew that he couldn't rehydrate fully afterwards, which, again, I don't want to keep harping on this, but I don't love that from a health and safety standpoint. By the way, I don't knock Tank and his team for trying to get everything in their favor. That's the game, right? You should do that. It's up to the commissions to say, hold up, you know, we need these guys to fully rehydrate.
Andre Ward, when he was on Morning Combat on Friday, said it's up to Ryan Garcia. It's up to having your own non-negotiables. But if
it's take it or leave it, what are you going to do?
Well, you know, Tank's from West Baltimore. There was a famous guy named Omar from that same area who said, the game is the game, Ariel.
He also said if you come at the king, you best not miss.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, deep thoughts. Deep thoughts from
who's the king? Who's the
Hey,
king?
Kate, if you had to
I need some lyrics,
you looked across Las Vegas this week and
Yes.
said, is there one person who could play the Adrian to Ryan Garcia's Rocky? Did anybody
Oh, I
stand out
know
this
who
week?
I would pick.
Wow.
Without a doubt.
Honestly, I feel like you guys are picking on me. I'm just going to stay off camera right over here. I mean, what is this? The two CBS employees
Did
are
I
picking
see a
on
red
me?
beret in your
What's
bag?
happening?
Did I see a red
There's
beret?
nothing.
No,
But I'll tell you what,
okay.
if he wins, I am jumping in there, and I'll say I told you so from now until next year. Why not? By the way, it's always better to pick the underdog because then you can gloat about it. If you pick the favorite, everyone's picking the favorite.
I remember during Mayweather-McGregor, Brendan Schaub was on. He picked Conor McGregor for that same reason. But, you know,
that's not.
You see how it plays out.
Are
in
you
the
really
ring,
doing this right now?
No,
you're
just
trying to couch out to the internet right now.
Who wins
Yeah, I
at
mean,
the
you're
end of
trying
the day,
to curry
and that's why
favor
we're
with that.
here.
Not chicken curry. I'm talking about curry favor.
Do you know, I tell you, I'd be interested if Devin Haney comes tonight because obviously he's in camp in Vegas, right? And I feel like if you're Devin Haney and you are undisputed champion at 135 and you see all this talk happening about Gervonta and about Ryan and about the division of 135 essentially running through the winner of this fight, you have to feel uncomfortable about that to some extent, surely.
Yeah, I mean, look with membership as a huge star, because you get privileges with that, and that's the attention put on you for fights, whether there's a title or not. Now, in Haney's factor, he has to defend all 4 of those titles against former champion Vasily Lomachenko, but I think we have seen Haney of his career willing to change promoters, change networks, go wherever he has to go to make the big fight. if the walls are coming down in this game and we're able to see fights like Davis versus Garcia, why can't we see the winner of this against the winner of that? I think there's a lot to look forward to in this healthy, rich division. We always talk about heavyweight. We always talk about welterweight, the sexy pay-per-view division. Middleweight is a historic, strong division, but not at the moment. But 135 is special right now, Kate. Make no mistake about it.
135 is the best weight in fight sports right now. It's the best weight class in MMA, and it's the best weight class in boxing. I feel very strongly about this. Some people think 155 in MMA, 135 in boxing. By the way, 135 in boxing, MMA, and women's boxing as well, I would say. There's something about that number right now, 135, which is tremendous. I was thrown off by the buzz sound. I was like, is someone getting a haircut in here? It's just, it's the New York presser when Tank won the first leg of this whole promotional tour, was getting a haircut while the press conference was going on.
He was late. He was late. Do you think that he didn't know what time it started, or that was day one of the mental game?
That was 1,000%. Actually, I would be disappointed if that was just a coincidence.
Well, here's what I liked about the New York presser, and Luke Thomas and I were on the scene. Ariel, you came in the next day in Los Angeles, but in New York, you saw Davis come in late. You saw him sort of walk around like, if there's questions on who's the A side, it's me. What I liked about Ryan is he didn't accept that. Right? You heard his speech. He was calling Tank out. He was the one bringing up the weight hydration and the 136-pound catch weight and saying, look, why can't you be a professional and show up on time? I think for whatever attempts Tank tried to get in his head, I have liked the way, not just in New York, Ariel, but throughout the whole build, how Ryan Garcia has dug in and said, no, I belong here. I deserve to be here.
We've talked about this press conference a lot, Kate, but can you rate the fits right now for us?
Do I have to?
Well, I just want to know.
Because I don't want to say anything mean.
Well, this was the first of the two purses. That Tank showed up with, and I don't mean fight purses.
The man purse.
Yes.
Yeah,
How do you feel about the man purse?
I believe that people call that, actually. I'm not a big fan. If a man turned up to take me out on a date with a man purse,
not a big fan.
Wow.
Not a big fan.
And what about the jacket that Gervonta was wearing? Like it? Bold? Confident?
I thought Ryan had a great comeback when he said he looked like you fell through a rainbow. So that was funny.
I like the colors, if I'm being honest. The long jeans. I don't know if they were long jeans or short pants. They were very Limp Bizkit, circa 1998.
They were more like Skate or Die, 1989.
I kind of dug it. I dug it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Dug it but wouldn't rock it.
Why not?
Well, Ariel, let's go to
Okay.
let's go to the day two of the kickoff pressers. That was in L.A.
Yes.
It was Ariel Helwani and I in studio in New Jersey. But Kate, I don't know if you saw this. Ryan Garcia came out on the what would you call it? The balcony of his hotel room.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say he came out with 8 cargo pockets.
The famous FaceTime call. Is that
yes,
what
there was a famous FaceTime call?
Yes.
But when they finally went nose to nose, this was maybe the best face-off we've seen in the building.
Actually, I was worried. He went a little. I thought he was going to hit him there. Did you see that? I mean, the hand speed is
That's the same
just
spot,
fantastic.
by the way, where Caleb Plant and Canelo traded punches ahead of another Showtime.
And that landed. That landed. Yeah, look at BC in the back over there. This was great stuff. I love this. And you know what I love?
Can we talk
Never
about
got
cardigans?
physical.
Ryan's cardigan.
On
point.
I feel like if you can wear it, if you can rock it, why not?
Okay. How about my coffee stains?
Yeah. You know what? You brought up MMA, and that interests me in some way, just kind of the parallel. Because I think one of the lessons that we learn from MMA is the fact that you can take a loss, right? And it's not the end.
Yes.
Obviously, one of these guys, we would hope it doesn't end in a draw this evening, right? One of these guys is going to take a loss. One of them is no longer going to be undefeated.
Who cares?
You really
not a big deal. Yeah, who cares? I feel like in boxing we worry so much about, oh, you got one loss. I mean, we were just talking about Vito. One loss, big deal. Get back on the horse. Some of the most popular fighters in MMA history don't just have losses, double-digit losses. Nate Diaz, BJ Penn, Randy Couture.
I think I know the reason.
Why?
It's not Floyd Mayweather's fault. But Floyd Mayweather's branding throughout the close of his career came surrounding that unbeaten record and the idea of could I best the mythical 49-0 of Rocky Marciano and go 50-0, which Floyd did. He was putting TBE the best ever on his hat long before his career was finished where we could have those type of debates. And I think because Floyd changed the game financially with Al Heyman in ways we've never seen before, you've got a new generation of fighters for a certain period that were looking at the protection of that O as a...
Worry about that when you get to 40-0, not 20-0.
I agree with you. I think losses are the best thing that can happen to a young fighter.
Everyone loves a reclamation project. Everyone loves a comeback. Look at Canelo. He lost to Bivol and no one really cared. Is he less popular because he lost to Bivol? No, who cares?
Well, what about the reverse side of that then? If it doesn't matter if you lose, who's got more to gain? Because it seems to me like for Ryan Garcia, this fight can change every single narrative about him. Whereas if you're Gervonta Davis, maybe people that look at this and be there an asterisk kind of next to this win because you forced on the rehydration, because you made Ryan
I
shrink
disagree
down.
on that asterisk because this happens in boxing. This is boxing. This is what we do. I can name.
You don't think that there will be people on social media saying, yeah, okay, but he made Ryan shrink down. He didn't face the best version of Ryan.
If Ryan's loss is directly tied to that and it's obvious to our eyes, could there be conversations? Yes.
Well, how do you see that it's directly tied to the weight?
If Ryan comes out and we see a demonstrative failing in his cardio at the midway point of this fight, or if we see him decide a strategy of going for broke in the first half because he questions his own durability to take punches and all the things that happen when you have a hard weight cut that are negative to you, I think you're gonna be able to see that. But the whole point is, historically, whether you like it or not, that's how the game is played. Bernard Hopkins came down 2 pounds to beat Oscar De La Hoya in 2004 in the middleweight unification fight. How many other times have we seen? Canelo had to come down 2 pounds to face Floyd. It's how the game is done. And I think Ryan has done a great job of not just using that narrative as motivation, but I also believe if you look at the interviews close enough, he says he's been very prepared for what his body's going to have to go through. He's been working on fasting and been working on all these other things to help make this cut as easy as possible. And I will say this again, seeing him on stage on Friday, thought he looked very good.
Okay, so I love this topic, and I'll take it one step further. I think, and I'd love to hear your take on this, I think there is so much more pressure on Tank Davis's shoulders than Ryan's shoulders. If Ryan hangs in there and goes 10 and even gets stopped, they'll say, good for you. You bit off a little more than you can chew, but you stepped up, you chased the fight, all that and more. If Tank Davis loses, because of the weight, the stipulations, all that stuff, and if he gets knocked, he gets knocked out. Oh, my God. You don't think that his fans are going to turn on him? The people are going to turn on him? Do you not agree? If Tank knocks out,
the internet would break.
If Ryan Garcia, the social media kid, the good-looking kid, the YouTube, whatever you want to call him, knocks out Tank Davis, the internet will break.
Then it will be McGregor all over.
Oh,
right?
It will be. It will absolutely. Do you guys not agree that Tank Davis has more pressure on his shoulders because of that? Because he will receive more heat than if he does the same to Ryan Garcia.
I do think so. I am not sure that Gervonta gives me the impression of somebody who struggles to deal with pressure, though. I think in a fight sense, we've seen him go to arenas that weren't his arenas in terms of when he fought Leo Santa Cruz, was at San Antonio.
Sure.
When he fought Isaac Cruz. Where did he fight?
Staples
That was
Center.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
LA. So again, that Mexican-American crowd that is turning out, right? He's shown that he can fight. He can also fight at home in the DMV. He can carry that kind of pressure of performing in front of a home crowd. I think maybe the bigger question is Ryan Garcia. What kind of pressure can he carry? That
Well, the thing is, I'm not
mark.
questioning, by the way, who can deal with the pressure. I'm just saying one has way more pressure on his shoulders.
There's no question about
I feel like Ryan's playing with house's money at this point.
If it comes down to who has more to gain, Ryan Garcia, the only thing he's like, the stardom's always been there. The thing, if there's anything lacking, is that critical respect. You cannot gain any more critical respect than going in there against Gervonta Davis in Las Vegas on pay-per-view, going over all the hurdles you needed to get there, and then raising your game to a level we've never seen before. Ryan Garcia could become a star like no other if he does exactly what you say and knock out Tank Davis.
God.
He also can gain. Look, the hardest people to win over in boxing are the hardest core of fans at the end of the day. And this is the last hurdle for Ryan Garcia. Can you go up against a fellow elite and get the job done?
Do you think that Ryan Garcia is at this point like outgrowing Golden Boy?
Ooh.
Do you think, I have to say, since we're kibitzing here among friends.
You're stirring.
Well,
right now.
I saw him look at that whole scene yesterday, and I felt like he was like, this is annoying. I don't want any part of this. I've outgrown all of this. I want to be my own man, my own promoter, and I feel like he's moving in that direction. I wonder if those days are coming to an end.
There may be a guy with leather pants knocking on his hotel room
I'm
door
just
later tonight.
just
Hold on a second.
that I'm talking,
Aren't you supposed to be sitting with La Familia tonight?
Listen,
You're not supposed to be sitting
again, I'm trying
with
to say
Oscar De La
I
Hoya.
am the unbiased journalist. I talk about the good and the bad, and I looked at him in that moment, and I saw him look at those guys, and he was like, "You're taking away from my moment. This is my moment. This isn't about you guys."
Taking everything I worked for? Is that where you're going with this?
Ryan, if you want a really good seat at the fight tonight, I feel like there may
I'm
be some
good.
flexibility with that
I'm good.
ticket right now.
I'm a no frills kind of guy. I'll be in the I was in the rafters. I was in the freaking rafters over there
I
for
mean,
Mayweather
can we just
McGregor.
show the FaceTime video already? Can we go
listen,
back to the LA
My
presser,
man
please?
Corey wanted me to throw to it, but I
Ryan's on the
can't do that
balcony.
about my own moment.
Rapunzel,
what a moment it was. What a moment it was.
It was a great. By the way, that was a great moment. I'll give you that.
I mean, there was something about that balcony. There I am. You see the cardigan. I'm calling Ryan.
See, that's why my wife tells me don't wear bright clothing at all. Okay?
No, you
You'll
look
flush yourself
fantastic.
out.
Luckily for me, I only have 2 boxers in my phone. As far as contacts, Ryan is one of them.
Ooh,
Who's the
other?
second?
Iron Mike, no big deal. NBC, only the best of the best.
Wow.
Were you concerned he wouldn't answer?
Absolutely not. He sees my name up there. He's answering first ring. Did you watch that?
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I'll say this. This is a deep friendship. There's been a lot of love yous exchanged.
By the way, I'm not a Johnny-come-lately. In like the darkest days of the pandemic, it was me and Ryan Garcia that got America out of it with the Helwani boxing. Remember that?
Oh.
He was going tit for tat with me. People don't remember.
I think we're
It's a
going to
big
fact check this
claim.
broadcast afterwards.
In the
right?
depths of hell, it was we were the only shining light
Can we
coming
make
through.
Showtime Boxing great again, please?
Oh my gosh!
There's a lot of other celebs coming tonight
yes.
for this one. I'm
You have the
interested-
list?
Do you have? Well, I've got some of them. Do you have any of these in your phone?
Rolodex?
Cardi B,
Yes.
Chance, Lil Baby,
you and
Bad
Drake have,
Bunny,
you and Drake have exchanged.
Michael B.
things.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Is Drake coming?
No, well, Drake was not on the list that I have. Maybe he's
Champ-
coming. He's not on the list
By the
that I
way,
had.
Drake is such a big timer. He's not putting himself on any list. He's just turning up.
He just walks
He's
in.
just turning up with that face, and they're like, "Please, Drizzy, walk
Well,
right in."
You know, this is the side of the Gervonta fan base. Gervonta has a lot of social media followers, not on the level of Ryan in some of those apps for the kids, right? But the one thing is Gervonta brings that celebrity appeal, entertainment, music, sports. Like
He brings
they
the
show
floor
up.
in boxing.
Oh, they show
Yeah.
up. I mean, it's almost as if Gervonta. I've compared him before. It's funny because Gervonta has such cool hip style that he's always wearing like Metallica sweatshirts,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
Guns N' Roses, and you'd be like, wow, you're into that band. He reminds me of the Grateful Dead, where when he shows up, whatever city, people follow.
Wow.
He has become this star of. Look, we always say boxing. We want it to trend younger. Ryan trends younger in a lot of ways, but so does Tank in bringing the modern.
That's why it's
young.
such a special meeting, though, right? Because you have Gervonta Davis, who's hip hop culture essentially, and
Sure.
then you have Ryan, who is pop culture. And
Maybe
it's like
he's
the
not
perfect-
hip hop culture. I feel like ever
He's
since
not?
you said that you aren't a rock fan, he keeps making rock
I know,
references,
right? He's
right?
trying
Or
to
maybe
edge me
that's
out.
the only material I have.
Yeah, I don't know. Simon and Garfunkel. Do you know Grateful Dead was a big band in the '70s. They like to do
Simon and Garfunkel felt, yeah, that one felt
Hey, Dead and
outdated,
Company is
maybe?
still going. John Mayer, Oteil Burbridge, all right? Put some respect on that, all right, Bob?
No,
Lawrence?
now he went over my head as well. I will say I was hanging out with my basketball friends yesterday, and it's amazing how many are here for this fight. To your point, crossing over. Damian Lillard is a huge boxing fan, so no surprise that he's going to be here. But Stack was telling me, I mean, at the end of the night, I watched the Knicks beat the Cavs. It was a tremendous win. And there I was, Kate and Brian, hanging out with J.R. Smith, Al Harrington, Steven Jackson. I'm not trying to drop names here. Shandon Anderson. I felt like I died and gone to heaven.
Did you get the invite, Brian?
No.
I did.
You just
but
want to answer for him.
I did. No, I got an invite. I did.
No,
I got
You're not
receipts.
supposed to say
Oh,
that.
thank
We're
you.
supposed to be
All right.
feuding.
All right.
We're supposed to be feuding.
No, see, I
didn't get the
I
invite.
feud often with my teammate Luke Thomas on Morning Company. He's always trying to hang out with me on the road. Kate, I
Yeah,
gotta
no one
go
wants to hang out.
under the sheets, get on YouTube, and get
Right.
the world away from me.
Room
all right?
service.
Have you ever been in this city? It's like Mos Eisley Spaceport out here. It's you know. Hey, we'll be here all night. Thank you. All right.
This
Yeah.
is great. I'm having
Yeah.
a blast. They should do an alternate commentary feed with just us. If people want a different type, not to say, Morrow and
You think
Al are
people would
tremendous.
want that?
I think people would like it. I'm
Is there
just
an
throwing it
appetite
out there
for
to
that?
the bosses. A couple of them are over there if they're listening.
Would you FaceTime any of your famous friends?
I would do it. You want me to do one right now? I'll do one right now.
What? What are we doing?
Call someone? Should we do a FaceTime? Is that what you want?
Iron Mike?
I don't want to bother him
Nah,
on fight
he
night.
won't pick up. He won't pick up.
I'll
He
call
won't-
DC
he will
if
not-
you want.
He will not pick up.
Rogan?
I think I've
Brian
accidentally
Campbell?
fat shamed DC a few times. Don't bring him up.
Okay.
right now.
Luke, I could call
Remember
Luke
when
if you
WWE
want.
put that referee shirt on? Daniel
didn't look
Cormier?
great.
They didn't do
Oscar.
him
What
any
about
favors.
Oscar? You must have Oscar.
ODLH?
Yes.
Of course. Get his thoughts on the
Why
fight.
not?
Get his
I feel like
thoughts
you guys are
on
trying to
his
set
future
me
with
up
Ryan?
so that someone clips this off and go, oh, look at Ariel, always making it about himself. Oh, I feel like I'm being set up right now to do this.
that the voice
I'm
that
not
your
gonna-
followers have?
Ew, look at Ariel. He's always making it about himself. I hear you guys. I was looking at the wrong camera doing that, so I totally screwed it up. Point is, it's not about me. I'm just trying to have a laugh, as they say
Kate,
overseas.
you and I are guests on the Ariel Helwani basketball show at the moment, just so you
Fantastic
know. Okay?
to be here.
Yes, yes.
This is a great time.
What's the biggest question that you guys have coming into this fight?
Ryan's chin, 100%.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
funny. I was going to say, can Tank take the left hook?
They both are obviously dynamic enough to score knockouts. That's why when this fight was announced, you had that edge of your seat, tense drama feeling already. But I agree. I mean, Andre Ward said, a lot of people have said it this week when talking about this fight. It comes down to whether Ryan Garcia can absorb, avoid, survive the offense, particularly in the second half of the fight. When he's got a 90-something knockout percentage, Tank
Sure.
has. But I do think one thing is overblown, and I want to get your guys'
I hope
thoughts.
you say what I think you're going to say.
Luke Campbell,
Oh, thank
2021,
you.
the biggest
Thank
win
you.
of Ryan Garcia's career,
so
January
tired
of
of
that
it.
year. He gets dropped by a very big left hand, and everybody said, there's the proof I needed to see that Ryan Garcia
One punch.
has a paper chin, that he's not there. Obviously, to Garcia's credit, he got up from the deck, knocked Campbell out to the body 5
No one
rounds
brings
later,
that up, by the way.
and sent him into retirement at
Yeah.
age 33. While it's overblown, Tank is a different puncher. He is. So the same question still lingers.
That was also 2 years ago, right?
True.
So everyone brings this up, and it drives me nuts. It's like the people who bring up the one time Mayweather got rocked by Shane Mosley. It's like the one thing that they can hang their hat on. And to be fair, that was a little bit more of a devastating punch.
Two of them.
And yes, point is, it's the one knock against them that we've seen so far. It's the one moment of vulnerability that we've seen. And what happened? No one mentions the aftermath. The aftermath is he's dusted himself off and he stopped him. And to your point, never fought again. So
I think the
he's
problem
been there
is
before.
that probably none of us, or I don't know, the big question is, can he go 12 rounds without getting
Sure.
clipped cleanly by Tank? Because if Tank touches your chin, I think you go down and you stay down.
Sure.
You'd be looking at the lights. But the cynical fan has to realize the reason why this narrative persists is because Ryan has tendencies to show chin hanging out too long, backing up in straight lines, certain things that, look, Joe Goosen is going into the Hall of Fame this year. This is their third fight together. I saw against Javier Fortuna in Ryan's last win, you saw that right hand come up to block the hook, and it's an interesting comparison because Fortuna, like Davis, is a southpaw and can surprise you with those big left hands. But it's not just Ryan's chin then, it's his commitment to defense that is the key in this fight.
Right. We're waiting for our second prelim fight, by the way. But we've obviously got a really exciting full card, 4 fights on the pay-per-view card for you this evening. Let's talk a little bit about the co-main as well, about that, which is... Wait, is it the David Morrell fight, or am I tripping?
It is.
Oh, it is the David Morrell
yeah,
fight.
you were right.
Stepping in against Yamaguchi Falcao. So late minute, would we call that a last minute replacement?
Yeah, it was like a
couple
week.
of weeks, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'm interested, how high are you on Morrell? Is that a fighter that you feel
I'm very
is
excited.
everything he says he is? Because he's a fighter that's calling out Canelo, that's calling out David Benavidez. He wants all that smoke. Is he ready for that smoke in your
Well, speaking of all that smoke, our good friend Steven Jackson, who hosts the great show All the Smoke, is a huge fan of his and gave us some great insight on Thursday. Has been in the gym with him. I'm a big fan. I'm a big believer. And you know what I love so much about David Morrell? He's only 8-0. And most guys at 8-0 aren't even like saying the name David Benavidez, right? Like they're not even bold enough to do that. And I think he truly believes, and his team truly believes, because I spoke to them yesterday while I was waiting to do the weigh-ins up there. They know David Benavidez. His head trainer used to live with David Benavidez. Benavidez used to live at his home, and they say they would take that fight right now, and they would win that fight right now, and that would be a huge mistake for Benavidez to take that fight because, let's be honest, Morrell doesn't have the biggest name, but he might be the toughest guy out there for him outside of a Canelo. So I think this is a big coming-out party for him. A lot of people are going to be watching. He goes out there and stops Falcao and gets on the mic and cuts a promo. You know how a promo can go far. I don't know if he gets the fight, but he puts himself at least in that conversation.
Yeah,
right?
by the way, Morrell committed to learning English, as we saw in the build-up to this fight, so maybe that
smart.
call-out, if he gets by Falcao, could be huge. But Morrell is just different. He's 25 years old. He fought for a secondary world title in his 3rd pro fight. He still has that belt today. Obviously, Canelo has all 4 recognized titles at 168 pounds. But we were talking earlier about the 135 division being young and special and all the other traditionally strong divisions. 168, gosh, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez in March. Canelo's the undisputed champion. Is Jermall Charlo moving up? There's Demetrius Andrade, who just made his PBC debut. But David Morrell Jr. is the wild card, the dark horse of this division without question. Any holes we saw through the first 6, 7, 8 fights of his run, each time you see him again, he sparked that out. So I want to ask why. Well, he's got Ronnie Shields, the great legendary trainer, but his co-trainer / cutman is Bob Santos, who was nearly the trainer of the year last year. So no shortage of smart minds in the corner, but it takes a confident, dynamic young man. David Morrell looks like he's all the tools, Kate.
Do you know what I think is exciting about him as well is that usually with Cuban fighters, we kind of know what we're expecting, right? They have that amateur pedigree. They're always very technically super sound, right? Very skilled fighters. But we often kind of lump that in that boring group, right?
Because they're artists. Let's be fair. They're
right.
artists.
It's the sweet science, but there's not every boxing fan who desires the sweet science, right? People come here. He bucks that trend. He's a different type of fighter. The very fact that they gave him the co-main on a card like this tells you that he's an exciting fighter. I don't know if you listened to Sean Porter's interview with Gervonta Davis, but I thought that was an interesting kind of point that Sean brought up with Gervonta was, hey, people aren't paying these ticket prices to come and watch you box. You're an entertainer now. That is why people turn out. That's why people are willing to pay the big money. And I think the same expectation of David Morrell today, people don't just want to see a silky smooth boxing performance. People want to see action in that fight.
And what he does in accordance with showing his skills, Morrell, is he doesn't just avoid punches. He'll get on his toes and swivel his upper trunk movement. He tries to add that level of show, as you say, to it. He's got the fresh haircut this time with the braids, and he's talking trash and learning how to speak English. But he's made Minneapolis his adopted new home there. And I don't know if you've ever been in that arena they have up there, the Armory downtown. You know, the Minneapolis Lakers played there at one point. That place shows up early. They're all fight fans, and they are David Morrell fans in there. So Morrell is making believers out of a lot of people, and I want to mention one other name, Louis DeCubas Sr. We know him a lot as a somewhat legendary manager. He is behind Morrell. He's Cuban by birth. He's brought so many great Cuban boxers to the States. He told me after one of Morrell's victories inside the ring there in Minneapolis, this is the best Cuban prospect I've ever seen on the pro level. That says a lot, right?
Can I ask you very quickly, do you believe that he can hang with the Benavidez right now?
Yeah, after his most recent performances, I do believe that victory over Eidos, your Bostonilli, obviously had made tough headlines because Eidos was hurt after that and took a long recovery. But he has shored up his defense in Morrell, moves around, he can box, he's got power, but that whole star factor we're talking about, it's not just I look comfortable, I look like I belong. Like, he is so hungry to prove himself and to attain glory at such an early age that there's something special about him. I do believe in him. I do.
So we've got a prelim fight, the next prelim fight, the second prelim fight of the evening that's coming up very shortly. So I just want to get your thoughts on this one. Fyodor Cherkassin against Elias Espadas. Cherkassin is the guy that they're trying to move here, right? He's looked very impressive in recent outings. He's 21-0, 13 knockouts. Do we see him as that guy? Because we've been talking about the Cuban school, right, of boxing. Is he that next Ukrainian standout?
He just might be, but he came out of nowhere. He hadn't fought in the U.S. until last year. Made his debut on a Showtime preliminary card. I had the pleasure of calling that. That was in Hollywood, Florida. But when he came back late in 2022 and took on Nathaniel Gallimore, it was the first fight in a Showtime Championship Boxing triple header. So this was Cherkassin's real close-up opportunity. He scored a dominant 10-round decision over a typically durable fighter in Gallimore. He fights with that European style. Maybe doesn't have one-punch knockout power, but he relies on his volume and accuracy. He kind of reminds me of Viktor Postol, former champion at 140, maybe Sergey Kolovalev without the same power level, but that same rangy style. He is somebody to watch. We'll see what he does here against Espadas.
What I like about him is no amateur career. Actually fought more in kickboxing and Muay Thai than in boxing. Comes over and is doing this as a pro. You don't see this ever. In fact, you see it more in MMA. Like, guys just bypass the amateurs and go straight into pro. He's doing that, and it's paying off. It's working very well for him.
Feels like a high-stakes fight as well for Espadas, right? Coming back off that loss to Xander Zayas, which they fought, I think, at 154, right?
Sure.
How important is it going to be for him to get back in the win column and get a W under his belt?
Obviously, he fought a teenage phenom there in Xander Zayas, who's coming on as a bright prospect at 154. But this is that same reset opportunity against, like we said, a name that's kind of come out of nowhere, that's got some hype behind it. But this opportunity for, on the other side of it, just the same, to have that breakthrough moment and want us seeing him back in the ring once again. I called that fight 2 fights ago for Cherkassin, and Luke Thomas and I looked at each other and go, where's this guy been all our lives? He looks like a finished product. We'll see if the upset can be on the other side just the same.
How hard do you think it is for these guys coming out to fight when the arena is still as empty as it is at this point? Because, I mean, especially this kind of a crowd, a Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis crowd, this isn't even a boxing crowd, right? This is just a crowd that is going to be excited to be here for the main event. Is it hard to get yourself up for this kind of thing?
Well, honestly, I wonder when it fills up. I mentioned previously that hardly anyone was here when Tank Davis fought on the co-main event slot of Mayweather-McGregor. I mean, it was no more than 1,000 people in this building, and then the moment that fight was done, it was crazy. It was like a rush of people just went into the building. It was kind of weird. You pay all this money, enjoy the fights, right?
Right.
I don't understand it.
Ariel, don't
very
you dare try to tell
ticket.
high rollers how to spend their money.
It's an expensive ticket.
Okay.
If I'm buying a ticket to this, like $3,500.
Have you ever paid for a ticket to go to a fight?
Absolutely. What do you think I am?
He's an unbiased journalist. That's
Listen,
who he is. Okay? We've learned that.
I am from the mean streets of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I paid my hard-earned money to go watch Arturo Gatti fight Joe Hutchinson back in 2000 at the Bell Center, then known as the Molson
Friday
Center,
Night
right?
Fights. Wow.
Come on. I mean, listen, everyone's like, go back to MMA, go back to MMA. I was watching Roy Jones fight the great Otis Grant
go back
of
to Montreal.
Montreal. I'll go back to
Wait,
basketball.
I want to know what's with the voice that you have for your haters.
It's the voice that I do for that. Ew, Ariel, go back to basketball. That one.
Do you sit
great.
there reading your Twitter notifications
Not
and you just
these
read
days,
them out loud?
they got rid of my blue check.
They did.
They did.
You
They
can
got rid of
afford-
yours too.
You can
Did
afford
pay
those
for it?
$8.
No,
all
I have
right?
no idea. I haven't
Oh.
checked. I don't really look at
Don't
Twitter.
pretend like you didn't
No,
check.
I promise
Kate.
you, I did not check.
You don't look at Twitter?
No,
God
I'm not
bless
big
you.
on
I
Twitter.
wish I was the same. Do you look at Twitter?
I look at Twitter. I'm not famous enough not to, okay?
That's
All right?
true.
I just
That's
do a
good
job.
point.
That's what I do.
What's it like just being kind of like...
A wash dad? It's very easy. I just, I just show up. That's
She works on the World Cup.
She's far more
There
famous
has to be a
than both
moment
of
in
us
this broadcast
combined,
where she's
right?
like, how did I end up here with these two schmoes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where did I go wrong?
No,
You may,
don't think so.
you may be a schmo. I'm a pro. I'll tell you that. Play me in
Jabroni
basketball already.
central.
You know what?
right?
Ariel shared a very interesting take with me yesterday, which is with no suit with sneakers. Has
Yeah.
to be suit
Oh.
and shoes.
Yep.
Which he has
Wait, let me
suited and
just make
booted
sure.
tonight, by the
Okay,
way. I don't
yeah.
think you can see the shoes.
Shout out
but they're
Hugo
there.
Boss. Ah.
You know what I like what you've done?
Yes.
Is the stripe with the check. I'm with that. I like the clashing, it feels very cool.
Now I feel... Oh, there they are. Look
They
how
are.
shiny
so
they
you would
are.
never pair that with a pair of kicks.
Okay, now I feel very self-conscious that you mentioned that.
I can take my shoes
Should
off
I
if you
have-
guys want to see the updates on my toes.
You don't wanna
because
see.
Here's the thing, Kate. I want to
He's
ask
not
you
wearing
this
socks,
question
by the way.
about hygiene and style. When we see
hygiene and style.
when we see MMA fighters, when we see Olympic wrestling champions and they have the cauliflower ear,
Yeah.
we don't say, "Hey man, that's gross. Can you get that fixed?" They wear that like a badge on their sleeve that tells the journey of their life.
Sure.
My feet tell the journey of how I got
Are you wearing
here,
socks
okay?
or no
I was
socks?
trying to
I'm
find
not
the
wearing
connection
socks.
between
Yeah.
that
You have-
story of the
I have
cauliflower ears and your
cauliflower
feet.
toes. That's the connection. But,
Wait, was this a fashion faux pas? Should I not have done
No,
that?
I like it. I just find it very interesting that you're so anti-sneakers with a suit when I kind of thought of you as a sneakers guy.
So it's like business on top, party on the bottom.
Oh.
So you got the suit, jeans. You could wear the sneakers, but this new thing where people are wearing a full suit, such as
Right.
this, bespoke. How do you know bespoke? The buttons. Okay, let's not. Anyway, and then you wear Jordans with it. What?
So if
That's a
Steven
horrible
Jackson
look.
turns up tonight in this suit that he has had
Oh, I'm
custom
gonna
made
slap
with
him.
kicks,
I will slap him.
you're going to tell him
It's going to be mouse.
he's
at the
going to turn
Palace.
you into that guy at the yeah. All right, there you go. There you go.
Don't tell- I love you, Stag. You're the man. Wear whatever you want, all right? They're trying to create enemies for me here, and I'm trying to have a great time, all right?
All right, so we are ready for our second prelim fight.
Are you
gents.
gonna
I'm
join us?
No, I'm not. I'm going
All
to sit
right.
back, sip on my energy drink that you
I would
bought
love
me
to
over
have
there.
one as well.
Orange Cream Ghost.
Well, here we are in the ring. Miguel Flores, the announcer, getting us set up. And
They just
Ariel,
appeared.
we mentioned Fyodor Cherkasian be taking on Elias Espadas, 10 rounds in the middleweight division.
I have a great Ray Flores story for you. In
That's
the early,
Miguel Flores, the younger brother of Ray Flores, okay?
You're kidding me.
Can you please get that right? I
Are you
mean,
kidding? That's
I'm-
his younger brother?
I'm not kidding at all. He's a fantastic ring announcer.
How old is he?
Old enough to purchase a drink, okay?
That is I didn't know it was a whole family affair. That is well, I have a great Ray Flores story.
Ray will be here tonight, of course.
Oh.
He'll be on the call on the international telecast
I mean,
of this
what
evening's
has that
pay-per-view.
family done to their pipes? That is unbelievable. Ray Flores and I used to cover WEC together in Chicago when they would come to town when I was working for another network, and he was just a guy with a YouTube channel.
Miguel Torres, Jeff Curran.
Yes, and I told him, bro, your voice is fantastic. You should not be doing YouTube videos. You should be doing ring announcing. He took my advice and look what he became.
Oh, another
I'm not trying to-
successful career because of crossing paths with Ariel Helwani.
I'm blown away that's his brother.
This is our second of two fights here, of course, on the Showtime pay-per-view countdown program. Kate has her energy drink. She's still biased, but Ariel and I will take you through this. Fyodor Cherkasian,
Not to be confused with Fyodor Emelianenko.
indeed.
One of the great names. No one says that name better than Mauro Ranallo.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Moro on the call, of course, recently as Fedor said goodbye live on
tonight as
CBS against Ryan Bader. Cherkasian, born in the Ukraine. He is of Polish descent. He lives now in Warsaw.
Also spent some time in Florida, too, right?
Absolutely. Got some big-time sparring ahead of this fight in the camp with Caleb Plant, who was preparing for David Benavidez. And I've got a few others written down. He's made the rounds from training camp to training camp, which, you come in, you mimic another fighter. It can only make you better. Iron sharpening iron here as we get going in round one.
Not to be confused with the great Iron Mike Sharp of the Canadian.
Whose
Pro
left
wrestling.
wrist injury lasted multiple decades there for your old wrestling fans
That's
there. But
right.
I talked about the sparring there of Cherkasian in the dark trunks with the frizzles. Are those frazzles?
I don't know, but I like it,
I
by
like
the way.
it. I like it just the same. We mentioned David Morrell Jr., who's in tonight's co-main. Cherkasian also entering the camp of David Morrell, so getting very good work ahead of this Elias Espadas is his opponent, a 32-year-old from Merida, Mexico. Did I pronounce that correctly? Normally,
You rolled the R.
Luke Thomas is
Fantastic.
here to correct my Spanish. Very, very aggressive.
Where are you at, Luke?
Thomas will be back, finishing up the family vacation. Will be back with us on Monday's Morning Combat on Showtime Digital. But round one here in the middleweight division. One thing to note about Cherkaszian, as Ariel mentioned, background is largely in mixed martial arts in forms of kickboxing, Muay Thai, all of that. But he's made the adjustment nicely, and he really knows how to operate from range with that jab. But when he's got you figured out, Ariel, you see some accurate combinations coming in.
He was looking for his first boxing coach in Poland, found one on Facebook, and the guy wouldn't write him back. And then he had to just show up at the gym and be like, bro, why don't you write me back? I want to train.
Said he was able to get Polish citizenship because it's where his grandmother is from. Moved his career there. It's where he lives with his wife. But interesting, we mentioned he's from Ukraine. His parents are still in his hometown there. And they've been through a lot there with the skirmish with Russia and under law during wartime. Cherkaszian's father was unable to leave the country because all males under the age of 60 need to stay. So it's been a trying time the past few years, of course, for so many, Cherkaszian and his family notwithstanding here. But this is the time in his career he feels he's about to break out. 27 years old, Fyodor Cherkaszian, 21-0 with 13 stoppages.
No children. He said now's not a good time to have kids living where he lives, but he and his wife do want to have kids at some point.
Over 350 kickboxing and Muay Thai contests. He started at the age of 6. Took part in 20 professional fights in kickboxing, won national and European championships before making that move to Poland when he started his boxing career.
Is there a comparable example to someone who's done that at a high level?
Well, the Hall of Famer, the former heavyweight champion, also from Ukraine, Vitaly Klitschko, had a kickboxing background.
As extensive?
Not as extensive, but it does explain his stance, orthodox stance, which is very much of the weight shifting that's more akin to kickboxing than boxing.
I believe it's Vitaly.
It depends where you're from. In my factory town, we go with Vitaly. One round in the book, I do agree with you. Vitaly Klitschko, of course. Is he still the mayor of Kiev? He's been
What a legend.
a frontline man himself. But one round in the book here, as you see the corner of Elias Espadas. Big opportunity, as we mentioned, for the 32-year-old, nicknamed the Latin Kid. And here's a look back at the action in round one. Great timing on that counter left hook from Cherkaszian as they exchange punches in the center of the ring. I think tassels was the word I was looking for.
And by the way, shout out to our great research team who tells me that he is still the mayor of Kiev.
Kiev.
Yeah.
Thank you.
AKA the Google on my phone told me.
Our crack research team, Ariel's smartphone. Cherkaszian, a well-conditioned fighter, a volume puncher. We talked about that technique and that accuracy. With that breakthrough stoppage in his U.S. debut last August against Gilbert Venegas Jr., that opened a lot of eyes in the 4th round.
You called that one, right?
I did. It was certainly an eye-opening performance from the standpoint of putting those power punches together and getting his opponent out of there. And although he was unable to stop Nathaniel Gallimore in his next fight, dominant across the board, shutout decision in his favor.
You know, Kate asked me earlier if the fighters may have a hard time getting up for a scene like this, for an environment like this. What do you think? So empty? Do they even care?
I mean, look, I think it's certainly different than a piping hot crowd and the volume and the energy. But, you know, look, these fighters, amateur tournaments, the long road to get here on the way up, they fought in front of nobody before. It's certainly a challenge in some ways, but it's about the focus. I mean, you know, you do talk to athletes when you say, can you hear the crowd? Can you hear your corner's instructions? They say, no, I'm so dialed in, it's as if I can't hear anything.
Right.
So it can depend on the athlete for sure.
I feel like Vegas, T-Mobile, all that adds enough, right?
Absolutely. Cherkaszian, inspired as a child, you're going to like this, by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, the legend.
Which led his
JP.
father Circassian's father getting him into kickboxing at the age of 6.
Not quite at the level of the great Sensei Segal.
Exactly.
In terms of like influence.
I mean, I did like
respect.
the JCVD movie when he was the goalie in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh, it was tremendous. Sudden death.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
He
Are
was
you
the
kidding me?
security guard who just knew how to cover the 5-hole. That was great.
Oh, my God. You know yourself. I mean, that was at the Igloo.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. A little more than a minute to go here in round 2. Circassian putting on the pressure. He said ahead of this fight he believes his biggest strength is finding opponents' weaknesses. And we saw the replay from round 1, that beautiful counter left hook. He's looking to catch Espadas coming forward.
"21 pro fights, all those kickboxing and Muay Thai fights. No nickname for Fyodor. Should we come up with one for him?
I talked to him about that. I've interviewed
Yeah?
him before. We should come up with one
I think
of
he's
his.
got to have one, right?
Yep.
But what is it? I don't know. I mean, you seem to have a relationship with him. You've mentioned 6 times that you called his fight in Florida. So.
No, I said I interviewed him this time. I didn't mention that great call,
Yeah, it
the
was
fourth
a
round
great call.
stoppage I had.
Anything come to mind?
I'll have to work on that between rounds, Ariel. Less than 30 seconds to go here in round 2.
Ooh.
Spada's coming up way short, looking to get inside with those hooks. There's a real ring generalship that Circassian at this level has been able to show, but you know he doesn't want to stay at this level. He believes he's ready for the best of this weight class, 160 pounds. If you can score a showcase victory here, that certainly would continue to raise his profile as they trade punches in the final 10 seconds. Referee Michael Ortega on the call, a Connecticut Boxing Hall of Famer from my great state, Ariel. You don't talk about Connecticut at all.
Oh, a lot of great fighters training out of Connecticut these days. Shout out to the great Katie Taylor, who calls Connecticut home.
You talking about the Irish sensation that you've become the biggest super fan of?
Listen,
Let's look back.
Again with the super fan stuff. I call it down the middle. Let's look at these highlights right here. And where's Steve Farhood to give us the scorecards? Is he not?
Oh,
do that?
he's nearby. You'll be hearing him from tonight. On the
Okay,
paper.
Brian. 29-28.
I believe that's the late great Harold Letterman. Okay, okay, Ariel.
Yeah.
4 rounds to 3. Closing in on the start of round 3 here, the final of our 2 Showtime countdown Showtime pay-per-view countdown. Man, I can't get that.
It's a tough
right.
one.
It is.
It's a tough one.
It is tough.
Am I allowed to mention the sponsors, or will I get in trouble for that? Because I have a very important question about one of the sponsors.
You know, I mean, you can probably ask our producers, Ariel.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Thumbs up? I was just curious when they got into the energy drink business. You see that right there? When did this happen? You see the one right there? That's
Are you talking
news.
about the one that Kate's currently drinking?
No, there's a different one right there. A very famous company with a G in the energy drink business. I feel like this is breaking news. They're a big spot. No, you guys aren't excited about this? All right.
I drink water.
And coffee.
Left hook on the inside there from Circassian. Got to shout out Big Mike, one of my favorite employees here at Showtime, had the hot coffee waiting for me at the start of this fight.
He's to blame.
Circassian looking to get off with combinations early. Very accurate puncher. Controls distance well. And there's a big right hand from Espadas over the top. Looking to gain some respect here early in round 3.
You mentioned in the previous round that Circassian is ready to be considered one of the top dogs at 160.
Sure.
Do you think he is ready to be considered one of the top dogs? Do you put him in that conversation?
Sometimes you've got to certainly swim when you're thrown in the deep water. But I have to say, look, that fight against Nathaniel Gallimore, who comes in, of course, Gallimore moved up in weight from 154, but he's been one of the most durable guys in that division. And when I look back at the show stats from that fight, Ariel,
Tell us.
Circassian landed 53% of his power shots. There's the old adage, if you land 40 or more percent of your power shots, you probably won. He landed 53%, had a 59-6 advantage to the body. It was a thorough performance, a beatdown. So you're asking me, do I feel like he's ready for the next level? Yes. Can he get there? Can he become a true title contender? We'll have to wait and see. But the poise is there, the timing on his shots, the accuracy. There's a lot to like on this young fighter who, at 27, seems ready to find out how good he can be. Espadas looking to, as we said, gain some respect, get off with these right hands. Circassian has taken his best punch well, though, throughout this early going.
He's naturally left-handed, but then they switched him right-handed. Now it's how interesting is that, right?
I mean, we've seen it at times. You know, think Oscar De La Hoya, Miguel Cotto, Hall of Famers. It's sort of said, look, if my in their cases, it was, look, their left hand was their naturally more powerful hand, so if they use that as the lead, the jab, the left hook, you'll be using it more often. I mean, and it took the great De La Hoya until midway through his pro career before his right hand was really respected. Same with Manny Pacquiao with his right hand. He was all left hand dominant in his early going despite winning big fights. It can take some time to become a complete fighter.
Greatest stance switcher in boxing history?
Marvelous Marvin Hagler is certainly a giant Hall of Fame name, the late great. But Luke Thomas and I talk about this a lot. Certainly in today's game, Terrence Crawford at the highest level does it great. But Jaron Boots Ennis, the unbeaten young welterweight, as we close round 3, not only does he do it great, Ariel, but I think it's starting a new trend for the young dynamic fighters where it's not, it's not such a abnormal thing. It's becoming regular, something that in the early going of becoming a fighter that they're just adopting, that I think is going to make this next generation even more dynamic. Here's a look back at the pictures of round 3. Very clean, accurate power punching from Cherkasian, which has become his calling card, of course.
Why do you think we see more stance switching in MMA than we do in boxing?
That's a great question, and we've debated that a lot in Morning Combat. I don't have an answer as to why.
I do.
But I do like that it's becoming more normalized across the board. What's your theory?
Okay, my theory is in wrestling, if you are right-handed, your right foot is forward, right? And so then if you switch to boxing, if you're orthodox, your left foot is forward. So they have... they're more comfortable with switching feet, point. Right? And so if you're a wrestler who then transitions over to MMA, a la a Frankie Edgar, you're now comfortable going right foot forward, left foot forward. How about that?
I love the breakdown.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Luke.
Frankie Edgar, of course, had one of the best boxing games in his UFC title.
Dominic Cruz.
Back in the day. But the one thing about why you don't see more boxers doing it is because it can be a dangerous move. You're squaring up to switch stances and oftentimes you may not. The biggest problem is you don't have the same defensive, instincts, I guess, often on your offhand. But round 4 action heating up here in the first 30 seconds. Espadas looking to get inside after Cherkasian appeared to control the early rounds. We haven't checked the live scoring of one Ariel Helwani.
No, I was waiting on Steve Farhood to come in, but I guess he's taking the prelims off. Great story, by the way. Before we got up here, we met a father and son duo who told us that his son was attending his first live fight, and the father was there with a friend. And the fight that he said he first went to, what was it?
1987, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
At Caesar's Palace.
Which was the first pay-per-view fight I ever saw. Actually, first fight in general that as a kid.
How old are you?
As a fan, as a...
You're 22 at the time?
I was about 8 at the time.
Okay.
My dad had a pay-per-view party at my grandparents' house. For my dad, a non-sports fan, to get into sports, it had to be like the Super Bowl, right?
He was into it?
The Olympics. He bought the pay-per-view and invited everybody over. That's the fight I learned about the intensity of scoring, the debate, everything that
you remember it?
Oh, of course. Leonard came back from a long retirement with a detached retina. They thought he was risking his life there, but obviously one of the big moments, but a great father-son story.
Oh, my God. I love that. Did you ever see a fight at Caesar's Palace?
I did not.
Always wanted to see one there. Either that or WrestleMania 9. Remember that?
Yeah,
Bobby Heenan coming
Raj
out.
Markazi was in attendance.
Oh, legend. Yeah, that's right.
Good punch, clean punching here from Cherkasian in round 4. I mentioned once he makes that adjustment mid-fight when he's figured it out, maybe not too different in some cases from Gervonta Davis, he starts to get more offensive, and we're certainly seeing that here in round 4.
Oh, a little warning there. How do you feel about the warning? I don't like the warning. I say if you do something illegal, you should have a point taken away.
Well, I believe a big believer in second chances in life, Ariel.
Listen, the warning should be in the locker room, okay?
Well,
because this isn't. Yeah, so that's it. So then you do it in the ring. It should be a point.
Okay. Well, look, there's moving targets, so sometimes it's unintentional.
I guess it comes down to is it intentional or not. Did we think that was intentional?
No.
Fair enough.
Upon further review, no.
But you know what I mean? It's like sometimes in fight sports, it pays to cheat.
I agree. You can
not suggesting that Fyodor here was cheating, but you know what I mean.
Look, there's a veteran trick if you're behind in a fight in MMA or boxing. You go low, cause a break in the action, maybe get a little bit of a mental edge.
1000%.
You know who was great at not letting dirty things happen? Andre Ward. He would just out-dirty you.
The SOG. And shout out to him, June 2nd, right here on Showtime.
Fantastic documentary.
The Book of Ward. Oh my gosh.
SOG, The Book of Ward, which if you followed Andre Ward's great career, you know how, I'll use the term guarded he was at times with the media of letting through his true personal story. But let's look back as Fyodor Cherkasyan. Let's see how many times I can mispronounce it, but look at the accuracy on his punches
the body
there.
shots.
Backing Espadas up to the ropes. And when Cherkasyan can get a little bit of separation at that middle distance, you see that combination ending with a left hook to the body. Not known for the one-punch power, but if he puts the combinations on you and lands that left hook downstairs, Cherkasyan can get you out of there.
Love a good body shot. As you mentioned in his previous fight, what was it, 59-6, you said? With the body shots?
Body punches landed, yes, over Nathaniel Gallimore.
And we're seeing more of that activity here from him. I love that.
That was 5 months ago in Minneapolis. It was the Showtime Championship Boxing tripleheader opener. Same night, David Morrell Jr., who's in this evening's co-feature, scored that decision win over Aidos Yerbosinili. Round 5, middleweight division. Let's see if Fyodor Cherkasyan, Ukrainian-born, Polish descent, can continue to climb the ladder here and become something in the middleweight division.
Oh, he's working right now. He is cooking.
Hard body shots, big right hand. Espadas looks hurt. Cherkasyan sitting down on his punches. Espadas calling him forward. Referee Michael Ortega calling for the break, but Cherkasyan has smelled blood, so to speak. Can hear the corners. Sound like Cherkasyan's corner imploring him to continue to throw punches. Espadas fresh off 5th round stoppage loss to Xander Zayas. That was in August of last year. Snapped a 6-fight unbeaten streak for the 32-year-old, who turned pro all the way back in 2012. I think Vito Mielnicki Jr. was probably in preschool back then.
You know, it's the telltale sign that Cherkasyan hurt him in that exchange moments ago. Espadas was telling him to come on, right?
Calling him on,
Every time. It's the telltale sign. Why do you do that? That just tells the judges that you got hurt.
Well, sometimes the telltale sign could be they smile to try to show that they're not hurt when that means they are. I think calling him forward to say, look, I'm hurt if you're Espadas, but Espadas' best chance to change the momentum of this fight is if Cherkasyan comes in too aggressive, lowers that guard a bit.
Yes.
I mean, you know, what's more dangerous than a wounded animal? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, they say, Ariel.
That's
that might
right.
be the answer. All right?
Very bold of you to say that.
This is what you get on Showtime pay-per-view countdown.
I'm trying to get us to say something for Kate to actually say one thing in the middle of one of these fights. She has resisted, but I feel like she's on the verge. Oh, something just happened.
Espadas goes down. Referee Michael Ortega ruling that a slip.
Do you agree?
I do agree.
It's because of that energy drink. The logo.
Sometimes the logos on the canvas can lead to slippery footing.
That's a callback. Reminds me, by the way, of Steven Gerrard when he slipped on the pitch back in the day.
Are we talking soccer here?
No?
I believe Kate's microphone is turned off.
What about that callback, though? Steven Gerrard against Chelsea? Was that against Chelsea?
Is it Gerard? I don't know.
It is Gerrard? I call him Gerrard.
I got it wrong.
Here I am trying to be cool.
No, it was me. I was calling it soccer.
I was right?
Yeah.
Come on.
I believe we can get Kate's mic in the mix here, too, if we have.
Was it Gerrard or Gerard?
Gerard.
Oh, I was right.
No, you both are mixing me up. It's Gerard.
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 That's what I said.
Steven Gerrard.
Isn't that what I said?
Is it? I thought you said...
Steven Gerrard. I thought that's what it... Was it not against Chelsea when he slipped?
I don't remember who it was against. Was it Chelsea or Man City?
No, it was Chelsea. It was
but
Pep.
it was for Man City to win the title.
Yeah. Shout out to Pep Guardiola, my man.
Good action to close round 5 there in the final 10 seconds as Fyodor Cherkasyan continues to control the action against Elias Espadas.
We got her to speak at least.
We did. We brought Kate back in, but look at the power punching here from Cherkasyan. Very accurate, Ariel.
Very impressive. Again, more work to the body. Thought maybe he was going to drop him there very briefly. Look at the legs, and that's when he called him on, and you knew he was hurt.
Something about the crispness and the speed of the combinations from Cherkasyan. And those body shots are really doing the damage to the very durable Espadas.
He is playing with fire, though, with some of those punches. They are landing, it seems, almost in the back of the head, and he was warned. So we'll see if he continues to go to that well. But I'm impressed with Fyodor.
I'd love to see you as a boxing referee. You wouldn't take crap from anyone.
Oh, absolutely not. I've been known, you know, to have the same sort of intensity as the great Mills Lane Jr. Was it Junior? I don't know if it was a Junior. If he was
No, I
Junior.
think it was just Mills Lane.
Yeah, it was Mills Lane. I was thinking of David Morrell Jr. What a legend he was.
Absolutely.
Oh, stunned him there with that one. I don't know if you know this, but I've been training a little boxing, a little sweet science myself.
You're talking about Hawani boxing with
No,
the head
legit. Yeah, legit.
All
Yeah.
right, I need footage of this. Or
Kate
I
has
won't believe
questions, but too bad for her. Her mic is off. She can't ask them.
it. Round 6, Cherkasian continuing to put it on with those left hooks down low. You know, Ariel, one left hook to the liver in that right spot. It's like blowing up the Death Star on Star Wars, you know? The fight can be over in a blink. You remember when Bernard Hopkins dropped Oscar to the body, end of the fight.
End of the fight. The great Boss Rutan taught me the body shot, you know, different type of body shot.
Is he training you right now in boxing?
Trained Kimbo Slice.
Who is training you?
Oh, hello
I'm
again. Shout out to my good friend Patrick. He's my trainer 3 times a week. We're working on the right hand. Some have compared it to some of the greats. The left hook, let me tell you something. I don't want to put myself in the category of Ryan Garcia, but it is lethal. Okay, so everyone calling
So you're
me
an
out these
orthodox
days.
fighter?
Yeah, of course. Look at me. It's all right hand, but that left is the torque is.
Got some nice snap on it.
Hard jab.
You said
from
it.
Espada. Sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
sorry,
As
sorry.
Espada's a little bit of activity from the native of Mexico here. Landed about 3 or 4 stiff jabs, but it has been mostly Cherkasian. I'd like to see footage of your form, Eric.
Oh, Diaz and I in Vegas in July. Diaz was holding the mitts up for me. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah, a little pivot action.
He respects you, Nate Diaz.
Oh, of course. Those Stockton boys, like, we share a kinship.
Okay.
They know I'm from, you know, the mean streets
Will
as
you
well.
go the next step and get the 209 tattoo on your left forearm?
Absolutely not.
A la John Anthony.
I can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery if I have a tattoo. That's my big problem.
All right,
That's the
we'll
rule.
save that
That's the rule,
conversation
yeah.
for the post-fight show, apparently.
No, I'm not a part of the post-fight show. This is my one shot. I didn't make the cut for the
Should we
post-fight
talk
show.
about scoring women again, or should we keep going to this fight?
Scoring what?
It was a callback to the earlier
Oh,
bad
okay.
joke we had. All right. Less than a minute to go in round 6 here. Fyodor Cherkasian
Why
piling on
didn't
the
I get
clean
the
punches.
call for the post-fight show? I'm just wondering. I wore this nice
you
suit,
know, I
and I'm only
thought-
doing the pre.
I thought you were too big for me to ask
Wow.
you, but if you're around, okay.
It's weird. No, I'm actually not around.
Yeah,
I'm taking
here
a
we
red.
go.
Who
there it
is
is.
on the postman?
I think it's just
a
him.
one-man
Isn't
show.
that
So
weird?
far, it's
Like, we
just
take
me.
him all the way to here, and then he's just doing a solo
So
show.
here we go.
Feels a little bit weird.
You want to know full disco? Right hand from Espadas, a counter right as Cherkasian was opening up, did catch him flush. As we close in under 30 seconds in round 6, you were with us on location in Cleveland, Showtime pay-per-view.
Oh,
Jake
yeah.
Paul, Tyron Woodley, Luke Thomas, and I on the ground did the post-fight show.
Yeah.
Luke texted you about an hour before. We said, "Hey, why doesn't Ariel join us?"
Couldn't be bothered.
Didn't respond.
That's
but,
such a lie.
But,
That's an absolute
can
lie.
Can I correct the lie?
Okay. He
We
called-
found out he had an old number
Of course.
in his
Oh,
phone.
that's the Kate. That's the classic story of my life. People look. Ariel doesn't respond. Ariel doesn't.
So
respond.
then we all went, "Oh, Ariel's not the bad
And
guy
let me
everybody
guess,
thinks
he
he
lamented
is."
the fact. He said, "Oh, Ariel's bad guy. He's big timing us." I would have jumped on that thing. I would have popped your ratings. Helwani equals
He actually
ratings.
created a doll, and we were poking it. It
Yeah,
looked
of
a lot
course.
like you.
But I'm not available for the post show tonight. Sorry.
Good clean punching here once again from Fyodor Cherkasian. Looked a couple rounds ago like he may have Espadas hurt enough to go for the finish, but some strong punch resistance shown as Espadas is hanging around. Ariel, do you have Cherkasian up wide on your scorecard at the moment?
I do. What are we entering here? The 7th. So if my math is correct.
There's the counter right hand that Espadas landed flush as Cherkasian came in, walked right into it.
I'm not even going to bother with that math, to be honest.
If Ryan wins, you going to the Ryan after party tonight?
No, I'm on a red eye. I've got things to do back
no.
home.
See, Ariel, I
Yeah.
wanted to invite you to a post show as a special guest. Right?
No, I was asked. I asked if I was needed on the post show. I thought I got this nice suit, and they were like, "No, you're just bringing us to the dance, but you don't get to actually be at the dance." I was like, "All right, fine. I guess I'm just prelims Helwani to you guys."
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to text really mean things to your old number.
That's
All right?
true. Yeah, I
They didn't know that Helwani equals ratings.
They don't. Well, some people know, but apparently not here. But it's okay. I'm not. You know, I hope that the show goes great. You're just going to do it by yourself, Vince Scully style?
Yeah, you know, that is the hardest thing to do in
Is
this
that
game. and
weird?
I love it. Oh, I love it.
Oh, you love it.
I can talk to myself alone for hours.
Bit of a lone wolf.
Clean right hands once again from Fyodor Cherkasian in the dark trunks. He's been in firm control throughout. A spare right hand or two from Espadas has landed. Couple hard jabs, but don't have the punch stats in front of us. You'd have to believe Cherkasian in full control in that regard.
Do you think he's almost been trying too hard, though, a little bit, kind of forcing the shots and loading up a lot?
That's a great point, I do believe, especially in that 4th round when he had Espadas hurt. You saw him come out in the 5th, really trying for the knockout. But it's most likely, as usual, you go back to being patient. You don't look for the finish. Sometimes it can come to you. You have to understand, though, if you're, as we mentioned in the setup for Fyodor Cherkasyan, you get a big win here. That's packaging 3 in a row under the larger PBC banner. More big opportunities could come your way, especially in a middleweight division, which, of course, Jermall Charlo still holds the WBC title. Is he going to move up? We don't know. Bit of an opening there for somebody to come in and make a very large statement.
Stunned him with that one. Espadas did.
Yeah, it's been one shot at a time for Espadas, really unable to find that level of consistency, but you got to be impressed with his toughness.
Honestly, I was just going to say, I am very impressed with his toughness. He is hanging in there, and he's not going away. He didn't get the memo that this was, oh, it's spilling all over you. What in the world?
And me, by the way.
Wow. Can we get a shot of Brian here?
No, please.
Now I feel like this is a bit.
You know,
Is this a bit now?
this is the fourth.
He literally just took a coffee, and 90% of
The
it went
top
on him.
is broken. You can see the top is
But
broken.
you've known this all evening.
I have
so I'm
known-
Why
very
did you go back to
confused.
the well?
Kate, it's dangerous to sit next to me, okay? And I
Oh,
apologize
He needs
for
a
that.
napkin or something. I mean,
I'm
this
going.
is a
I'm going
mess
to
of
need a towel
situation.
over here. Less than 45 seconds to
hot?
go in round 7. No, it's very cold coffee by this
Okay.
point.
Do you want some of my energy drink?
No, thank you.
Oh my lord. Are you okay? Do you need
No.
me to take over the play-by-play duties here?
My heart will go on, Ariel. Okay.
I think he's nervous in between you and I, Kate. 2 pros.
Hard jab from Espadas. Yeah, the star power on this set. It really just.
Dream team.
Wow.
92S. You're the Christian Leitner. We're, you
Apparently
know,
I am because I'm doing the post show alone. No one will
That's
talk
right.
to me, but the amount of fluids I've spilled on my pants and shoes on this night is a record. Cherkasyan putting together
Ooh.
strong shots to close
Oh,
the
wow.
round.
A little bit late there with that one.
Referee or Michael Ortega sliding in. Looked like Espadas may have been one or two more shots from going down. But a strong close to the round as they rally in the napkins for me.
Napkins
and,
are arriving.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
thank you. Can we retire this coffee cup,
Yes.
please, before Kate loses more of,
Some for Kate as
of
well.
her
I mean, I think
self-respect
she
here?
got some,
Oh, we've also got an oxy pen.
here's
for
a
you,
look
like
at the
stain
finish.
remover pen.
Wow.
Do you need
Who had
that?
that?
Final
Goodness
10 seconds
me.
here of round 7. Cherkasyan with the clean shots. Not enough to force the stoppage, but the intention was there.
By
Wow.
The
way, Kate's never
multitasking
coming
here
back.
is impressive.
You're never coming back, Kate. Under these conditions, catching these coffee strays,
Do you need me to use the stain remover anywhere? Are you okay?
Yeah, I do actually.
they would never do this on the Galazzo show.
Oh, this is.
So this
Wow.
is a recurring theme in my life. My wedding night, which was 5507 De La Hoya Mayweather.
Oh, that's right.
First
Almost-
bite of penne alla vodka spilled all over my
You
white.
get a shot at this. I mean, this is
Like,
the real action right
This
now.
Oh,
is
now I
this is
got it.
real life. This is what happens. Okay, I should not be allowed liquids around such high-priced electronic
I have to
equipment.
give this a second to try.
Unbelievable.
Round
They're
8
definitely
is-
calling
Team.
us to
This
do
is what
this
they call
again.
team.
Kate
Look at
Abdo working in my corner here. Cut me, Kate. Cut me. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There we go.
Under the pressure, Kate just working the corner.
Thank you. Can we get the end swell out here and work
Yeah.
on? Yes. Thank you. All right. Round 8.
I'm just going to sit over here just in case more fluids.
So I-
Any more shrapnel?
yeah. But
I'm like
Fyodor is
Fuller.
unfazed,
Yes.
by the way, by all of this.
I was going to say I'm like Fuller in Home Alone. If you could.
Go easy with the Pepsi.
Yeah.
Which one is fuller?
Macaulay's brother,
Oh,
Played by-
yes.
who then later on went on to star in some other shows, which we can't name. By the way, shout out to Big George Foreman. His film comes out next week. Saw some footage of him hitting the heavy bag today. Did you see that?
I did not see that. Big George still putting it.
Big George was putting in the work.
You know, power the last thing to go, Ariel.
He actually said that in the clip,
Of course,
proving that the late great Aaliyah was correct when she said, "Age ain't nothing but a number."
Wow. The
I need some more song references for the next show, don't I?
Ooh, big right hand from Cherkasyan. Can Espadas continue to survive? Clean punching from Fyodor. A good right hand to the body.
It's actually a really fun fight.
Of course, this fight interrupted at times by me spilling my coffee all over half of the broadcast team.
So we need to start a Twitter feed for that. Remember the old school Spilled Bag of Ice Twitter account in honor of Joe Rogan talking about the Spilled Bag of Ice?
I don't remember.
Oh,
that
wow. All right. I thought you went deep. spilled cup of coffee. What was most impressive about it, you kept going back to the cup of coffee.
Cherkesian setting Espadas up with the hard right hand. Kate, tremendous work on that.
Oh,
Hey,
my
you
God.
know.
So impressed with the teamwork here. I mean, we all met each other literally 36 hours ago. And here we are taking stains out of each other's ties, or at least your tie.
Or putting stains on people's
Yeah.
shoes. Sorry about that.
They weren't expensive, right?
Two-way punching here in the final minute of round 8. If Espadas is going to go out, he's going to go out swinging. So far, he's proved his durability, though. Neither fighter has hit the canvas. Cherkesian has largely been in control, but sometimes his exuberance in going for the knockout has left him open to big right hands. Good stance switch there.
Yeah,
for
I was just
Cherkesian.
going to say. Stole my line. He heard us talking about it.
You see great footwork like that, you go, I'd like to see him on a dance floor, Ariel. I've been known to tear up a wedding
Yeah?
reception. Tear the thing up, all right? Spill drinks everywhere.
What was the fight that your wedding day was on again?
Mayweather De La Hoya.
Golly. Did you have like a screen? Did you have some setup? Nothing? No feed? Closed
I had
circuit?
to commit myself to one woman, okay? And that's a lifetime.
Okay, so
commitment.
honestly, like how long did you hold out in terms of finding out what the result was?
Well, Ariel, there's a deeper story involved.
There's a deeper story. Can we get it?
You know, I was an employee at ESPN, a nobody. And I had a great boss, the late, great Anthony Mormiles. We look back at Cherkesian there in round 8, and I said, boss, there's this fight coming. Mayweather, De La Hoya, they might fight, there's rumors. And it would be the biggest boxing fight of our era and maybe of all time. If I could do one thing with my career, could I just go to it? Could I just, you know, just be there? And he said, if they make that fight, I'll send you to it. And at that point in my career, I never thought I'd be here with Kate Abdo getting my tie cleaned, right? I never thought I'd be calling fights with Ariel Helwani. So what happened was I bought the engagement ring. And the next day, I proposed, and she
Oh, no.
said yes. And 2 hours later, I looked at my cell phone and it said breaking news.
No.
We
Same
had
day?
already picked the date and called and booked the
You guys moved fast.
Yeah, on the same
yes,
day.
on
And
the
did
same
you
day.
try to switch the date of the wedding?
You know, there were conversations that
And?
didn't go that far, but in the end, I had to choose a life of happiness over one
Amen.
night, you know, at the fights. And,
Did you have FOMO?
Yes, because Oscar was my favorite fighter of all
He
time.
was.
You can't pick
Wait,
who you love.
all the Oscar slander this week, and now
can't
you
pick who
reveal
you
this?
love. You know,
Oh my
at
God!
the end of
Is
the
he
day,
still your favorite fighter of all time?
yes.
He is. I would never guess this.
It makes Raul Marquez, El Diamante very upset. Very
Yes,
upset.
yes.
Fyodor Cherkesian
Love Raul.
continuing to put together power punches. Raul will be on the Spanish broadcast of tonight's Showtime pay-per-view card. And, of course, love the work he does on Showbox next to me and Barry Thompson.
Oh yeah,
Steve
and,
Farhood.
and his lovely sons,
Oh,
who are
yes.
fighters in their own right.
Yep, Giovanni Marquez's younger son turned pro on Showbox a little more than a year ago, 5-0 in the early going at 140 pounds.
Has he called any of his sons' fights?
No, he's the head trainer.
Do you think he would?
Well, I'm trying to get a scenario going. The Showtime executives have not followed my lead here, where I would like a card, a triple header
Oh,
on Showbox,
yeah.
where Raul Marquez calls one fight,
Oh,
trains his son for one fight, and comes back in the ring
Whoa.
for one more and does the triple header in
when was
one
his
night.
last fight? Like 10 years ago?
Yes, but he's one of those guys who wakes up and still feels like a champion. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know about that part.
He wants
I don't-
Oscar. He wants him back.
Oh my gosh, Oscar was supposed to come back like a year and a half or so
Smart
ago.
move not to. Instead,
Yeah.
he went shopping and found a
New abs.
see-through dress shirt. Fyodor Cherkesian continuing to cut off the ring. Excuse me, close out the escape pass for Espadas. Apologies to all the hardcore boxing fans for how many left turns we've taken on this broadcast,
Oh,
Ariel. But
no, they told me that they wanted left turns. That's why I'm doing this. Should I not have done this?
I've enjoyed every detour.
Producer Matt told me to go as many lefts
Body
as I
shot
wanted.
from Cherkesian, and a pair of them. Espadas is
Ooh.
hurt, and the fight's going to be called just like that.
I don't know about
Referee
that.
Michael Ortega, you have to believe, once Espadas turned his back to the action, it's certainly within the referee's rights to wave off the fight. You know the old saying, protect yourself at all times, and when you're openly turning away from a shot, that can be the indication. We'll certainly take another look at it, Ariel, but it was 2 body shots, it seemed, that hurt Espadas and began the beginning of that exit.
My word, the body shots were really on display once again from Fyodor. Supremely impressed with his work on the body. I'd love to see this replay again. Thought that was a little soon. I think that Espadas deserved maybe a little more leeway, but perhaps the referee saw something that we didn't there. What do you think of the stoppage?
Let's take a look at it right now, and then we can both react in real time. Team
nice
Switzerland over here. 2 left hooks to the body.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
From Cherkaszian, a third. And then there you see Espadas turning away from the action. And for Ortega, look, it's a borderline call. I can understand Espadas' argument that he probably felt he was exiting away from the action. Probably thought Ortega was breaking them up. But the pre-fight instructions in the locker room are pretty clear. You turn away from the action. That's what can happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, he comes into 207 of round number 9. Winner by TKO and still undefeated, Vito
Still can't believe that's Ray's brother, by the way. I'm blown away by
Miguel Flores on the call there of the time of the stoppage. Fyodor Cherkaszian improves to 22-0, now 14 stoppages. And you'd have to believe a big step forward for the 27-year-old on his march to attempt to get into contention there in the middleweight division. Brian Campbell, Ariel Helwani, Kate Abdo with us after working my pit crew there in between fights.
Are you the host now? What's happening?
You know, we're a team. We can
we're a
interchange.
team.
Okay.
I'm not proprietorial about that.
I don't know where you're going with this. You know, just
You feel like you wronged me.
Well, I thought you were the one that was bringing us back. And then
Welcome along, everybody. Fantastic to have you with us. Kate Abdo, Brian Campbell, Ariel Helwani.
There it is. There
yes.
it is.
How are we all doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Speaking of team, I have a bone to pick with you.
With me?
Yes, because Brian and I, team members, we stay at the Team Hotel, Park MGM. That's where everyone from Showtime stays, right? Where do you stay, Ariel Helwani?
By the way, how do you know this?
I just heard.
Your sources?
Yes.
Well, if you must know, I'm not much of a casino guy, and so I like to go down, no smoke. I like the windows. So my hotel. I don't really want to say where I stay. There's a lot of haters.
Four Seasons.
I'm just saying. I like to stay at the non-casinos. No knock on the casinos. Our friends, we love all casinos. Of course, I'm a proud ambassador of BetMGM. Shout out to them as well. I know KG, my brother, is an ambassador for them as well. And
this is the Ariel Helwani show again. I don't know where we are right now.
I don't like the casinos. Park MGM is a little too casino-like for me. I always go under an alias.
He doesn't like the regular people.
Wow.
I always go under an alias.
You do?
It's a lot
Are you that famous?
There's a lot of riffraff. You know?
What was the face? The face was no.
He doesn't have that many. I mean, he's got a lot of followers, but an alias?
Alias, yeah.
Well, you do have. He does have a lot of enemies. Right?
No, absolutely
he is a
not.
beef machine more than my history at Arby's. I mean, he is
what I've said time and again is it can't be a beef. It's a one-way street, right? Like if someone comes at me and then I respond and they don't.
Did they do it in that voice?
Ariel, you're this, you're that. And then I respond with receipts and then they're nowhere to be found. That's not a beef. A beef is a back and forth. Tupac and Biggie, they had a beef. I'm just a guy trying to make a living and trying to provide for my family. And if you come at the king, then they find out that they best not miss. Shout out to the great Omar.
One day.
Second time that we've used that line today.
Well,
one day this guy's going to come at the king, and we'll see what happens.
He won't dare.
Right,
he won't dare come at the king. He knows people who came at the king, and he knows what happened.
I've been waiting for them to jump in our ear, then finally they did. Kate, take it over.
Oh, okay, I sure will. Well, you know what? Vito Mielnicki Jr. was the fighter that we saw win the first prelim fight of the night. And we've got some pictures, apparently, from his watch party where he is watching along the action. I'm sure he's going to be in the building later on, right? But for us, for this... Oh, there we go.
Doesn't look like he's a part of that crew.
Where's Vito?
Well, he was in the ring. This is back in New Jersey.
Oh,
every time
I'm sorry. Now I understand. Right, I got it.
Team Mielnicki and Greater Northeast New Jersey, they show out for
Italian restaurant, I'm going to guess, do you think?
I'm going to guess.
Why?
Yes,
Why can't it be like a Mediterranean joint?
Well, it could be.
Vito, I'm sorry.
Vito.
Vito Mielnicki of Polish and Italian descent.
That's right. So maybe it's a Polish establishment.
Well, I'm sorry for making the assumption, Ariel. Thanks for correcting me. Thanks for keeping me honest.
I love a great kielbasa.
What is that?
That's a Polish sausage?
Polish sausage.
Wait, why'd you call it a sausage?
It's very Midwest of me.
Oh, my God. Is that really how you pronounce it?
At Wrigley Field, you better believe
sausage? Did you say catsup as well?
I was joking.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I don't know if you were joking, if I'm being honest. Anyway, proceed with the restaurant pictures.
Okay. I don't know if we have any more pictures, so why don't we... But that was it. That was what we had for you. Why don't we talk about the main event again? Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis. I think what makes this one so exciting, right, and what sets this fight apart is the fact that you do not have to be a boxing fan to be excited about this one. If you think about the last big fight that we saw on Showtime, which was David Benavidez against Caleb Plant, brilliant fight, but you had to be a boxing fan to care about that one, right?
Fan's dream.
I feel the same way about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I don't even feel that fight has the same kind of crossover appeal fight as this one does. Tyson Fury will fill out Wembley, 90,000, no worries. But they will be boxing fans that are there to watch him fight Alexander Usyk. This is the one fight that feels different for that very reason, because it brings in the celebrities, it brings in the basketball stars, it brings in the floor, right, in a different way. I guess by every kind of metric, this is a mega fight. Different broadcasters, two young undefeated fighters, different promoters. There are so many different barriers that have had to be taken down for this fight to happen. You guys, between you, have been a lot of different mega fights. How does this one compare? What makes this one different? What makes it bigger? Or what makes it not compare? I'm just interested.
I think the thing that jumped out to me at Friday's weigh-in, where the crowds were just swelling under the hot sun, and like I said, people across the street, and they couldn't have seen anything, and they just wanted to be a part of it, was that mix. Whether it was 50-50 or 60-40, sometimes when you come to big fights in Las Vegas, look, you know, there's different levels of crowds and traveling crowds. When the great Ricky Hatton came over from the UK here, he brought the audience with them. But it's rare when you... When there is only one. And by the way, there was only one hotel that week that ran out of beer because the UK hit the MGM Grand so hard. Shout out to back in 2007. But the feel here is just of two separate, passionate fan bases coming together. That there's not a lot of overlap there. So it feels like a summit meeting of everything that you love about boxing, even though so many of the fans there are not traditional boxing fans. It just feels... I don't know. It's one thing we've said. Look, you and I have covered a lot of the Jake Paul and some of this crossover of non-traditional boxers coming to the space, and those fights have felt different from the younger audience, the non-boxing audience. There's some of that feeling here mixed with the traditional hardcore. It's like progressive, the new wave of boxing.
I always like to sort of play this game and wait and see when I think there's a big fight that's announced, how many people who aren't fight fans, friends of mine who will text me about it, right? Who do you think is going to win? Who's the favorite, that sort of thing. And then it grows and grows and grows as the fight nears. And this one falls under that category. Like people who I'm friends with who know that I do this for a living but don't usually like fights or don't order fights, they ask me, who do you think is going to win? I've been getting these texts for the last few days. And so that, to me, in a small way, tells me that this is a really big deal.
Yeah, to echo that.
Yeah, you get the same.
My kids love me. They don't get down for the fights or care about it. They have sent me so many Ryan Garcia related TikToks, and somebody from my church today texted me and said, "Hey, it looks like you're at the biggest fight of the century. Congratulations." I was like, "Well, I hope it ends up being one of the the biggest." But that's just the crossover feel. It's everybody. Everybody's kind of aware of what's going on here.
And you know what's interesting about it is they are interested in it, and they see the pomp and circumstance and the buzz. But for us who love boxing, we understand how rare this is, right? As you mentioned, two guys under 30, undefeated records, with so much to lose and so much to gain, no belt on the line. One of my favorite things to do when I was watching boxing as a kid and going to, bars with my friends to watch, when they would say, "and new," and no one in the bar knew what "and new" meant, right? Like, because the belt was meaningless. Right. If you watch a big UFC fight, they say "and new." We know that "and new" means Izzy just won the belt. The belts mean nothing. And guess what? There is no belt here. There's no nonsense with the sanctioning bodies and all that stuff. It's just two guys who have been chasing each other for 2 years, circling each other, talking smack with the rival promoters, who, by the way, shout out to Oscar De La Hoya and Leonard Ellerby this week. The promoters did their job. The fighters did their job. The networks did their job. Everyone did their job, when historically they don't do their job. They use every single excuse in the book to not make these fights happen, and we need more of these fights. And I bet you there are going to be fighters at home watching tonight saying, "I want some of that." There'll be a great trickle-down effect here, and when there are those fights made and you see those announcements on Twitter, please thank Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia for starting this trend once again in boxing.
You know what else? It feels good as a fight fan, right? Because we all work in boxing, but we also all sit at home and want to watch fights at time. And there are so many pay-per-views in boxing these days that you're always kind of in that dilemma of, is this one worth it for me? Is this worth the $80? Because there's just so many that it all stacks up, right? There is no doubt that this one is worth whatever it does cost on Showtime pay-per-view. Check it out. Is it 80? What's the price? Who knows?
I think it is in that ballpark.
Around
yes.
there, right?
Yeah.
But this one is, okay, no question. This one is worth that money for me.
1,000%. And the game gate. According to Leonard Ellerby, he wouldn't tell me the official number, is already going into this week top 10 all time.
I believe I heard it's trending to be the 6th biggest fight financially in boxing history. We'll see how it all plays out.
That's insane. 6th ever? Hopefully we'll get that official number at the post-fight press conference. But, I mean, just think of that. 2 guys who, let's be honest, like, how many pay-per-views has Ryan Garcia actually headlined that were, like, mega shows? Not that many, right? I mean, he's done, you know, stuff on other networks and whatnot. And the same with Tank Davis. Like, his shows do well, but they're not... We're not talking like Mayweather numbers here. For those guys to be affiliated with a number like that, with a stat like that, with a record like that, speaks to just how popular not only they are, because as we know in the fight game, it takes 2 to tango, right? If you have that dance partner, if you have that opponent, there's something very special that can happen. They found each other, and they're both benefiting from it.
But it's not just the star power or the reach. And, you know, Oscar De La Hoya said this could be the fight that grows boxing and all that ripple effect. It's all true. How about just, hey, who's going to win it? Both fighters have a chance to win this by knockout and doing it in spectacular fashion. And do you know what that creates? Drama and intensity where you're waiting, right? Any punch could turn the tide of this fight just like that.
Well, this is either man's biggest test so far, right? This is going to tell us a lot about who either of these guys are.
Not according to Tank, by the way. Tank has said no.
I think he has said... Really? But hasn't he said that Ryan is the most dangerous fighter that he's...
Dangerous, but I feel like he scoffs when people say, is this your biggest fight? Or is this your toughest fight, I should say.
Well, here's the stance I think he's taking. Could he say that to sort of discount what Ryan brings to the table? Maybe. But, you know, I asked Tank specifically at that New York City press conference, this is clearly the best opponent Ryan has faced. Is that the same for you? To Tank's point and credit, he has faced and beaten world champions like Jose Pedraza, Leo Santa Cruz, you know, Yuri Orcas Gamboa, Mario Barrios, Hector Luis Garcia in January. We've seen him go in there against established champions, knock them out, and take their title. So I think in his opinion, it's more, let's see what Ryan brings to the table. Let's see if I can declare him at the end of the day as truly the best. But when we do bring up the danger, to echo your point there, I think he acknowledges, why else would he put in at the negotiation table some of these things that we think, hey, if Ryan
because that didn't happen with Mario Barrios, who is also a bigger fighter, right?
Mario Barrios is a rugged, big fighter, does not bring the same exact power and one-punch ability that Ryan Garcia does, which is the explanation of why do we need this 10-pound thing? Well, A, because they negotiated it, but B, because I think Team Davis respects. It's a dangerous guy across the board.
And also I will say that, you know, when we were talking about this earlier in the week, someone said to us, well, you know, that's just what the A side can do. They can dictate that. I would argue that's what an A-plus side can do. Not every A side can demand these sorts of stipulations, but a superstar like Tank Davis, who sells out arenas from, you know, DC to Brooklyn to LA and everywhere in between, can demand those things, and the opponent would have to adhere to those things because they want to be in the Tank Davis business. Not every A side. I don't know if David Benavidez could demand that right now, right? Davis is an A-plus star, and I think one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and I don't think he gets enough credit in that discussion as well, and we're going to see some of that on display here this evening.
That backflips.
Oh, tremendous.
Nice, right?
Tremendous.
What would you, if we're painting like the headline of this fight, I suppose I would kind of categorize it as Ryan Garcia's speed and size versus Gervonta Tank Davis's power and experience. Is that kind of how you look at this?
I do, because that experience factor cannot be underplayed. I mean, you know, Ariel said there's an underrated value in Tank's game, and I agree with that. You don't see him on all the top 10 pound-for-pound rankings. I think you should, because he fights people in 3 different weight classes, fights many different styles, and goes out there in a way that isn't just barbaric, if you run into my punch, I'll get the knockout. It's the systematic way that he breaks you down. He throws the least amount of punches of any active fighter, yet the accuracy and the power, he's always 2 to 3 steps ahead inside the ring. Tank Davis setting traps, all of that. That's going to be a big part of what Ryan Garcia is going to have to overcome. He has experience against good names. Hey, his 2 biggest wins, Ryan Garcia, Javier Fortuna, and Luke Campbell, are both established, tough southpaws, world championship level guys. Luke Campbell was a gold medal winner in the Olympics. Tank is a southpaw, but we're going to need Ryan Garcia to make a leap in terms of the maturity and the performance that we've never seen from him.
Can I bring up one storyline that isn't being talked about? I think enough, and I'm curious, and maybe we'll get more insight into this after the fact. But, you know, on May the 5th, Tank Davis has the sentencing for the hit-and-run accident back in 2020. That's in 2 weeks. How much is that weighing on him? How much of a distraction has that been? How much has he had to deal and think about that? That's a really big deal, right? That's gonna maybe pause his career for a little bit, right? And so that's a big thing. Like, it's one thing to have a distraction like, oh, I was injured or I was dealing with this and that. Like, that has to be weighing on him. So, we've seen this in the past. We saw it with his mentor, Floyd Mayweather. You come out there, you have a big showing, and then you have to deal with some stuff and get your life back in order. And I'm curious if afterwards he'll open up about, that was weighing on me and that was a distraction. He hasn't said that to his credit. He hasn't hinted at that. But I don't know if you're truly human, if that doesn't affect you, right?
Well,
if that's not on your mind.
I kind of jump in. It's certainly, we're all human, and I think you have to affect that. But what do the greatest of the greats do? The unflappable ones.
Right?
It's compartmentalized. It's Floyd Mayweather. It's John Jones. It's, crossing MMA. It's just that ability in what Tank has said when he's been asked about it. How do you separate that? He says, I just don't think about it while I'm training.
Is that possible?
He's, at that, look, Floyd Mayweather had one of his biggest fights in 2012 against the great Miguel Cotto. A couple months before he was supposed to serve jail time, which he did, and he went out there and delivered a tremendous performance. The greats can separate what's going on.
Couple months, couple weeks in this case.
That's certainly going to be
just
on.
Wondering.
I'm sure when you're doing your boxing training, you're right there in the zone.
I'm locked in. I'm absolutely locked in, and I'm nowhere near the level of athlete that he is.
Not yet.
But I just think
Not
that's true. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the confidence. That's very rare, right? You don't hear about this in other sports. You don't hear, but there's not a lot of examples like this. That's in 2 weeks from yesterday, that date. So how does that not affect him? How's that not on his mind? If he's able to compartmentalize, God bless. I just know us mere mortals maybe don't have as easy of a time.
I moved on from that coffee spill very quick.
You actually did.
Smooth.
I was very impressed.
Listen, we are getting ever closer now to the start of the main pay-per-view card. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern for you on a Showtime pay-per-view. Of course, we've got 4 fights for you on that one. I think, obviously, one of the ones that really stands out to everybody as being super interesting is the co-main event, which features David Morrell Jr. against Yamaguchi Falcao. This is just his 9th professional fight for David Morrell Jr., but he's somebody we are already so high on. Is that deservedly so? What has he done to kind of deserve the attention that he's already getting, do you think, Brian?
We touched earlier on his wanting to be great right now, which has equaled fighting for a secondary world title in his 3rd pro fight, fighting in the pay-per-view co-main event in just his 9th pro fight. But it's the names he has comfortably, patiently called out along the way, not aggressively knocking on doors, talking trash, but really from the very beginning of turning pro, David Morrell Jr. wanted you to know that he's coming on and he wants to face the best. And when you look at the climate in this division, which is red hot, 168 right now, everybody wants Canelo in all 4 titles, and Morrell has used that name before, and he'll continue to. But Morrell has specifically focused on the name of David Benavidez ahead of this fight. We know David Benavidez is expected to be in attendance tonight. Could that be a fight that we end up pointing to if Morrell can handle his business against Falcao? Let's remember, won a bronze medal in the Olympics, brings a strong resume into here as a tough out. But this is an opportunity for Morrell to shine. And it's not just the speed, the defense, the power. It's just that mindset. It's some people they're just made for the spotlight,
Yeah,
Ariel's certainly one of them.
That one is definitely one to watch on this card. It's such an exciting fight night that we have ahead for you. Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis headlining, obviously. Let's go back to that main event. I guess I'm just interested, before we end up throwing over to the main Showtime pay-per-view card, how you think this fight is won for either man. If you look at Gervonta Davis, right, he's 5'5", 67-inch reach. He has those natural disadvantages in terms of size and reach. If you're Ryan Garcia, you have everything that you need to be able to beat Gervonta Davis on paper, right? You've got the good speed, you've got the length, you've got the power. Those are the ingredients that you need to get the better of a Gervonta Davis, keep him at bay, and not allow him to get on the inside and get that work off. Do you think he can do it?
Well, that's the big question. We're about to find out. Historically, Tank Davis likes to start a little slow, and I don't think that's a knock on him necessarily. I think, as they like to say in the business, he likes to download the information, correct?
The data is what they've been saying.
Yes, okay, the data, excuse me, and you say it way cooler than I do. Here's the thing, Ryan Garcia doesn't necessarily start slow, and actually told me on Thursday he doesn't think this time around that Tank Davis is going to start slow because he's going to be anxious to prove a point that he doesn't belong in the ring with him. And I think What Ryan is expecting, him to start fast, meaning Tank Davis, and that will be part of his undoing. He's hoping that he starts fast, and he's hoping that he's reckless, and he's hoping that he's able to catch him with that left hook or with another, weapon that he's trying to show off. Now, Tank Davis is one of the smartest fighters in the game, right? High boxing IQ. I don't think that's going to happen, right? I think Ryan is going to try to start quickly, try to prove a point in the first 4 rounds, and then it gets really interesting come, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of people are picking Tank via knockout 8, 9, 10. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Ryan Garcia. I think Ryan Garcia is going to be able to take his best punch. The question is he ultimately able to beat him?
If he takes his best punch, if Ryan Garcia is in this fight for the long haul, which would in some ways buck the trend of the way the odds were laid out. But look, Ryan Garcia has the tools to do this. He's got to take the leap in front of us. But a big part of that, I believe, because of what you said, traditionally slow starter is Tank Davis as he takes pictures, as he does the Floyd Mayweather-Canelo thing of let me start slow. Ryan Garcia has to start fast, in my opinion, and make sure that as we get to the midway point of this fight, that he has built a potential foundation on the scorecards by using that quick jab, but also by establishing distance. Yes, I believe he's going to have to land some type of power shots to get Davis's respect and attention early, but when Gervonta starts to make the adjustment, he becomes much more offensive and he becomes to march forward. If you're Ryan Garcia and you're going to look to go into the second half deep, maybe win a fight on the scorecards if it's close and it gets there, you've got to build that foundation.
Okay,
first.
that's interesting. I was going to say, is there any world in which this fight doesn't end by knockout?
Yes, absolutely.
You think so?
I think Ryan Garcia can win via decision, and I think Tank can win via decision. In fact, I'm leaning towards decision.
Hold on, these are two guys. So Gervonta Davis, knockout ratio 93%, Ryan Garcia 83%.
Yeah, but they're not fighting top-level guys like themselves, right? I mean, Ryan, I don't think has fought anyone near as good as Gervonta. We can argue if Gervonta has fought anyone near as good as Ryan. I would argue he hasn't. We just haven't seen the best from Ryan just yet. It's going to be very hard to knock the other guy out here.
Let me sprinkle something on that. When I sat down with Ryan in New York at the first press conference, and we talked about the impact that trainer Joe Goosen can have now as they enter their third fight together, one thing Ryan said to us was, what if I go out there and outbox him? What if I go out there and take Gervonta Davis deep into this fight? If that's the mindset of Ryan, this is where I want to bring out again. Does he have the tools to pull this off? The reach, the height, the speed with the jab, yes. But he will have to show a distinct leap in terms of his ability to avoid punches, covering up on the left hook with the right hand, keeping his hands up at all times. Is it possible? Can he make this leap? He has a Hall of Fame trainer in his corner. It is possible. Ryan has the heart of a champion to want to get better and grow. He's got to be able to, though, to take those big shots from Tank to be able to stand in there and do it.
We'll never truly know the answer to this question. I do think weight is going to play a very big factor in this fight. I'm very curious to know how much they will both weigh come actual fight time. But I do think when the story of this fight is told, it will play factor. What factor, we'll see.
One of the things I really respect about Ryan Garcia is just his willingness to be open about the anxiety, the mental health issues that he has gone through, right? Anxiety before a prize fight cannot be your friend, surely. Do you think he's had the time to learn how to control that anxiety before he goes into a moment like this? Is he ready for a moment as big as this?
Well, anytime I am asked this question, I respectfully disagree with someone who says it could be a detriment. Why? Because the greatest MMA fighter of all time, George St. Pierre, once told me that he would throw up in the locker room before his big fights, and he would look at himself in the mirror and say, you're not good enough, you don't deserve to be here, you can't hang with whomever you're fighting. And so sometimes people internalize that anxiety in a different way. Sometimes people use that anxiety as an engine to succeed. And so I think Ryan has come out on the other side of the mental health issues that he has experienced. And by the way, doesn't get enough credit for talking about that, for being that role model. This guy is 23 with all the scrutiny that he receives, and he's putting himself out there and talking about mental health in an alpha male sport.
Right.
Again, we're going to talk about the YouTube and the... No, he is a role model. He has done everything the right way. He has earned this shot, and I don't think any of that outside stuff, the nerves, the mental health, that's not going to be a crutch going into this fight. He's either going to be the better man or not, and I can't wait to find out.
I asked Oscar De La Hoya, was there a moment in Ryan's career where you saw that it factor that Oscar knew that he had in himself, that he once saw in Canelo when he promoted him? And he said, he pointed back to the Luke Campbell fight and getting up off the canvas. He said he looked directly in the eyes of Ryan and saw not just the eye of the tiger that you would need to fight or flight, get up and fight or stay down, but that poise to go, okay, let me clear the decks, let me get back on my feet, let me figure out how I'm going to do this. I think if there's any advantage to being the social media star that Ryan is the immediacy of social media. Ryan Garcia has been famous for like 5-6 years as a teenager, basically. There's a lot of hate that comes with that. A lot. He took 16 months off after the Luke Campbell win, which normally when you get the breakthrough win of your career, you're out politicking, you're out trying to get another big fight again. He took 16 months off for wrist surgery to deal with the mental health, the anxiety that was wearing on him. I think if we've seen anything from Ryan Garcia mentally on the build to this fight, is that he's playing the part of acting like he belongs, because I think he does belong. I think he's made for this. Does that mean he has the skill and the ability to beat Tank? We're going to find out in a couple hours, but I don't think he shrinks in the moment. I think, if anything, the reason why Team Davis knows that Ryan is so dangerous, it's not just the speed and the length, it's that he comes to fight. He got up off the canvas against Campbell and knocked him out. Ryan Garcia is going to give himself the best chance of winning, whether that leads to him being knocked out or not. He's going to go for the win. And while that feels automatic at the highest level, it's not always there. People are not always willing to risk it all. I think Ryan will be, and I think that's what separates him from other young stars.
I agree, and you asked me earlier, Kate, you asked me, if there was something that I read from him at the weigh-ins yesterday on the stage, and the one thing that I failed to mention was I feel like Ryan has a big chip on his shoulder, a bigger chip on his shoulder than Gervonta Davis. And what I mean by that is he has heard all of us say, you gave up this, you gave up that, you gave up this, you can't have all that stuff.
Right.
And I think when I see him and I see like how on Friday afternoon he just didn't care anymore, he wanted to prove a point. Now, that could be to his detriment, right? You go out there, guns blazing, I got a point to prove, you get knocked out. But I feel like this young man has a lot to prove, and he has been waiting for this moment to shut everyone up, to prove all the doubters wrong. Again, he has been targeting Tank Davis in particular when he knew that it was going to be almost like a Herculean task to get this fight. I feel like this is the moment that he has been working towards. And I don't necessarily know if it's the moment Tank has been working towards in the last few years. Obviously, it's the biggest fight of his career. Obviously, it's the moment that is going to make him into a superstar. But man, oh man, do I feel like Ryan Garcia has a big point to prove and a big chip on his shoulder. And I wonder what that translates into.
To close quickly, the point that Tank's trying to prove, because we talked about this publicly, is he doesn't believe Ryan's on his level. He doesn't believe any of the young superstars are on his level. He wants to prove that to everybody, that he's the best in the sport. That's all you would want a young star to do, like Tank Davis. So that's why this fight is so special, and I think the drama will be there throughout.
Oh,
they're
baby.
both going for it.
Take us home, Kate. Take us home.
Well, we are almost there. It is almost... Oh, I like that. That was you throwing the chalk.
LeBron,
Yeah,
very
see what you did.
Very LeBron-like of me. Yeah.
It's almost time. A 4-fight main card coming up for you, headlined, of course, by Gervonta Tank Davis against Ryan Garcia. No belts on the line, but all the legacy in the world. It's a fantastic fight. You can watch it on Showtime pay-per-view. Thank you for joining us. It starts now, by the way. Make sure you tune in to the pay-per-view. Thank you for hanging hanging with us. We appreciate it. It's been fun. Do we do like a dream team?
Yes.
92? Is there
Cancun on 3. We get to leave now.
Cancun?
Actually, that's what they say. Cancun on 3. When you...
I'll be prepared.
He can't leave, though. He still has to do the post show. We're good to go, Kate.
You
what
need to go find Oscar. Go find your seat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll be there. Catch me in the ring after the fight, and welcome to the squad.
Cash
Kate,
Ariel outside. How about that? Catch, by the way, after the fight's Morning Combat, your boy BC, on the Morning Combat YouTube channel directly after the fights. We are going live. And by we, me, you, your boy BC, not Ariel. Kate's a little too famous, but we'll see what happens there. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Enjoy. Welcome to the biggest fight of the year between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis.
I don't know if I've ever experienced a crowd like this for a public weigh-in. This is special. This doesn't happen often.
I've seen a very confident Ryan Garcia throughout the build of this fight, and I feel like mentally and physically we're getting the best possible version we can.
One punch can happen, and Ryan has that factor, but Tank baits you in. He forces you to engage, and it always ends up in a knockout.
The big talking point coming into this weigh-in was, what is Ryan Garcia going to look like at 136 pounds?
A battle of undefeated stars of the sport.
When you see a young rivalry with young guys that want to fight each other, they're both at the top of their game, this is giving the fans what they want to see in boxing.
They want the damn smoke, and they want it now. This is the right fight at the right time in the right setting with the two right fighters. This is like a summit of everything we love about this game.
This is the biggest fight of the year, biggest fight of this generation.
The last time I felt something like this in Las Vegas was Mayweather-McGregor.
All the fans are here, and the energy lets you know that it's a big one.
Who could miss this? It's incredible.